Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Abandoned by His Parents and Had True Longinus Part 2. Before we start, please go support Kodako the Beast for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Chapter 8. Third-person narrative. Issei. That's right. I am Issei Pendragon, descendant of King Arthur Pendragon and wielder of the most powerful Longinus, the true Longinus, a pleasure. When Issei said that, everyone present except Vala and Gabriel, who already knew it, were surprised, but the most surprised was Rias Gremory. Rias. But you didn't have a sacred gear, Issei. I checked it myself. Issei. Well, my sacred gear is special to awaken it. Either of the two examples you gave my brothers worked. My sacred gear awakened reacting to my desires to be stronger. It reacted to my ambition. Isn't that magnificent? Although, well, we are getting away from the topic. Vala, come on. After that, Issei and Vala disappeared from where they were just being noticed by Gabriel and to a lesser extent by Kiba. In less than a second, without giving him time to react, Vala was hitting his stomach with a kick and Issei was giving him a cut from side to side on his back, causing damage to Gabriel's lungs. After that, they gave him a double blow, sending him to the ground. After that, Gabriel tried to stand up again, but Vala. Divide. Issei. Is one enough? You don't look like a cadre, Issei said, watching Gabriel fall back to the ground. Well, now we just have to knock him out. After that, Issei disappeared again from everyone's sight except Vala. When Issei reappeared, he did so next to Gabriel, who had barely stood up, hitting him with the back of his spear, sending him against the school, but he was stopped by a blow from Vala. Vala. There's no need to cause any more damage, besides, he's already unconscious. We're not going. Issei. You take the fun out of life, Issei said. With the others, they were stupefied. They had seen how two boys appeared out of nowhere and defeated a cadre as if it were nothing. Was this the power of the Longinus? Everyone had doubts in their heads, but there was one who managed to ask what she wanted. Hey, you said your name was Issei, right? Issei. That's right, that's my name. Tell me, what's yours? Zenobia. My name is Zenobia Corda, Vatican exorcist. Issei. Okay, now tell me what your question is. Zenobia. You said something about Azazel. That means you work for the fallen angels. Having one of the three holy relics, why not work for the Vatican? Issei put on a serious look at this and responded sharply to the girl. Issei. Your dead god didn't save me, Azazel did. I owe my life to him, not to your shitty Vatican. That's why I work with the fallen angels, and I'm not interested in being cannon fodder for the Vatican. That bothered the girl a lot, but she couldn't say anything because that was exactly what they did to her and her partner. And before anyone could say anything, Issei was already flying to leave with Vala. Issei. We will meet again, but now we are enemies. All this was for a mission, although maybe soon we will stop being enemies. After that, Issei picked up the unconscious exorcist, called, and flew away with Vala. Max narrates. And my brother just said he's with the enemy and the fallen angels, but more importantly, he said we're enemies? Is this what he meant? Rias. Max, did you know about this? Did you know that Issei was with the enemy? Rias asked me questioningly. Max. No, Rias didn't know. If I had known, I would have tried harder to get him to leave them and come with us. Izumi. Well, she looked very sad and I understand her. We haven't seen our brother for a long time, and now he tells us that he is our enemy. How do they want us to react? Rias, what happened? Our barrier fell from one moment to the next. In addition, we felt two large presences, one dragonic and the other was a holy presence larger than Excalibur. What was that? Rias. There were two Longinus, users of divine dividing, and the other one was the most powerful. Sona. Rias, you mean? Rias. If the true Longinus rings. Sona. This has to be a joke. The fallen angels with the most powerful weapon created by God, and they also have the White Emperor Dragon. With Issei. Val. Don't you think you'll ruin it? You know, telling him you're enemies, I mean, I'm not the best person to talk to you about family, but I think you hurt them. Issei. I know, but I can't give them false hope, not while there's no peace. That's why I told them that. Anyway, we'll come back in a few days to see how they reacted. Narrated by Rias. It's been 4 days since Kokobile and we found out about Issei. I honestly feel stupid. How could I not realize that I had God's most powerful weapon in front of me when I was little? Well, now we have the Hyoudou and the true Longinus as enemies. What else could go wrong? Rias. Why did I have to say it? I said, watching as Hyoudou and Zenobia pointed their swords at Issei and the Hyoudou's necks. Rias. What are you doing here, Hyoudou Pendragon? Issei. Can I visit my brothers and my childhood friend? You're cruel, Rias. Rias. As you said yourself, Pendragon, we are enemies. It doesn't matter that they are your brothers, you are invading the territory of demons. Sorry, Max Izumi-chan and Issei. Issei. Come on, Rias. You know that if he came with bad intentions they would all have died already, or we would have simply let Kokobile kill them. Rias. You have a point, what do you want? I highly doubt you'll come here just because. Issei. You have good intuition, too bad it didn't work when we were little. I just made a face of disgust at his hint. I really know what I did was wrong. I separated you from your siblings, but I didn't do it with the intention of hurting you. Issei. Well, leaving the past behind, we want to continue attending the academy while we finish off all the traitors who followed Kokobile and are here. Rias. What assures me that they'll leave when they're done? Issei. These are Azazel's orders. I'm not going to disobey Azazel's order. Rias. I have to talk to Sona about it. Issei. Oh, and I also noticed that the exorcist is now a demon. Isn't that ironic? Before that comment I noticed how Zenobia tensed up. It seems that she still doesn't know what to do. Rias. That's right, it was 2 days ago. Issei. Well, see you, Ria, and goodbye, brothers. He said, smiling as he left with the guy named Vala. Rias. Max Izumi-chan, are you okay? Max. Don't worry, Rias, we're fine. He said with a smile, but I could see the pain behind it. Narrated by Issei. After we left High Vala and I went to take care of some fallen angels that we discovered before talking to Rias. Fallen angel A. Please don't kill me. A second later his head rolled on the ground and my spear was covered in blood. Val. We're done here and we have nothing left to do. I want my fight. Issei. Wow, I thought you wouldn't remember, besides this time I want something if I win. Val. What would that be? Issei. I want you to tell me why you run away 2 days a week. When I said that, Vala tensed up a little. Vala. Did you notice? Issei. Vala, who do you take me for? I'm a very good sensor, and of course I'll notice if my friend's energy suddenly disappears. Vala. I see, but I'm the only one who'll tell you if you beat me. Issei. So be it. After that, Vala and I made the teleportation circle, appearing in a place that Azazel showed us a long time ago when our duels were already too disastrous to do them in Gregory. Issei. Come with everything because I'm going with everything. True Longinus Gutterdamarum. And King's Armor. Val. Wow, you're taking this seriously, huh? Issei. If my opponent is strong, I'm always serious, so don't underestimate me. He said, launching himself at Vala. Val. Don't worry, I don't underestimate you. Vanishing Dragon Balance Breaker. Third-person narrative. After that, they both collided in a head-on duel. Issei. I've trained Vala too, and my armor helps me physically, he said, kicking Vala and launching himself at him. Vala, seeing that Issei was going to hit him with his spear, kicked it, giving Issei the opportunity to spin around and throw a slash that he barely dodged. After that, Vala rose up, throwing bursts of magic at Issei, who deflected them all with his spear. Vala. Damn, you've really gotten strong, he said, launching himself at Issei, but didn't expect the next thing. Issei took advantage of Vala's carelessness and launched himself without thinking, giving him a blow that he could barely block. Issei. Not only did I get stronger, I also polished my technique, and you're not even fighting seriously. Vala. Nothing really gets away from you. Well, here I go. After that, Issei had to block a kick that, although he blocked it, he had to take a few steps back because of the force behind him. Issei. Now we are talking, Vala. Issei shouted excitedly. Val, you're the only one who understands me in this regard. Let's decide who's stronger once and for all. Issei, he responded in kind. After that, Vala continued throwing punches with his superior strength, but Issei dodged and deflected them with his speed and technique. But at one point Valley managed to connect a kick to Issei's stomach, elevating him. Something that Issei noticed was that Vala reacted a little slower than him. Issei, he's fast and strong, but he hasn't trained his senses as much as I have. After that, Issei dodged Valley again, looking for the right moment to strike. Issei, if this continues I'll have to use it, and the truth is I haven't tried it. Well, there's a first time for everything. Val, what's wrong, Issei? Did you notice my superiority and are you giving up? Vala said, trying to annoy Issei. Issei, shut up, Vala, he said, throwing a slash that cut through Vala's armor's chest but without managing to damage it. Vala, that was close, he said, repairing the cut. Issei, hey Vala, have you heard anything about my armor from Azazel? Vala, why are you coming out with that shit now? Issei, I just wanted to know if he had told you something and well Azazel put something else in the armor to make me stronger. Vala, what the hell does that old man think? Vala said angrily, shit Azazel, I know you want Issei and I to be strong, but you're practically turning Issei into a damn war tank. Issei, well I think I'll show you. Dark Tyrant King armor. After that, Vala noticed how Issei's armor went from silver to black and the blue details turned red like blood. But that wasn't the only change. Issei's eyes went from green to gold, and his yellow hair became a little more opaque to the point that it looked almost white. Issei, this way I can fully exploit the increase that the armor gives me, but in exchange let's say that it changes more things besides my appearance. I call it Dark Tyrant, but Azazel named it King Arthuro Altar Armor, Issei said with a more subdued tone. Seconds later Issei disappeared from Vala's sight, but his instincts screamed at him to move away, which he did just in time to avoid Issei. Vala, what the hell is going on with that speed increase, he said, dodging another attack from Issei. Issei, I see, but I still can't hit you, he said in a colder manner. Valley, I have to go faster than him, but from the beginning I haven't been able to use Divide because Issei only releases sacred energy, which would be counterproductive. I'm going to have to use it. Are you sure, kid? That kid hasn't used his treasures or whatever they're called yet, which means he's trying hard to beat you at your game. Valley, then what do I do, Albion? Albion, tell her you want to get this over with so you have a reason to use her. Valley, I see, thanks Albion. Hey Issei, let's finish this once and for all with our most powerful attacks. Are you okay? Issei, so be it, Vala, Issei said stoically. Val, okay, here I go, just wait a bit. Hi, the one who will awaken. I am from Celestial Dragon who stole the principles of God's supremacy. I envy the infinity, and pursue the dream. I will become the White Dragon of supremacy. I will take you to the farthest limits of innocence. Juggernaut Drive. When Vala was doing his chant, his armor changed drastically, looking more like a dragon until it ended, and a more robust armor with the appearance of a white dragon was shown. Issei, I see the Juggernaut Drive, so be it, Vala, let's end this. After that, one of the spheres on Issei's back was placed in front of him, but unlike the other times, this time it did not take the form of a spear, but instead it became a black sword with red details that Issei wielded with both hands and placed on his side, gathering all his energy into that attack and then launching it. Vala responded by putting all of his remaining magic power into his mouth, and then compressing it to launch it towards Issei's attack. Type like this. When the attacks collided, it was so strong that it alerted all the biblical factions. In heaven. What's up, father? Said a slightly doubtful-looking man, upset. In the underworld. Said a red-haired man with greenish-blue eyes. I'll see that it's Surzek-sama. In Gregory. Azazel. Damn, Vala Issei, what the hell are you doing? Azazel said excitedly. Returning to Vala and Issei. The explosion had already passed, and in the crater was Issei walking forward. Issei. You lost again, Vala, he said, seeing a somewhat bruised body in front of him, to shake his hand. Vala, you know, one day I'll have to win, he said, taking the hand Issei extended to him. Issei. Don't complain, it's not like you've never beaten me before. Vala. But it's already 13-9, you've won 4 fights in a row. Issei. With that I demonstrate the dominance of the chest, Issei said proudly. Vala. You'll never understand the supremacy of the butt, he said, already standing up. Issei. Another reason for our rivalry, to prove who's better, he said, extending his fist to his side. Vala. Breasts or butts, he said, bumping fists with Issei. Issei. Now we have to go or else Azazel will kill us, he said as he began to make a teleportation magic circle. Vala. I think the same as you, he said, helping Issei. Chapter 9. Narrated by Issei. It's been 20 minutes since my duel with Vala, and we are currently receiving a Vala lecture from Azazel, and I am being scolded by Penemu. Penemu. In transfer, what were you thinking? How did you come up with a fight with Vala? To reach that scale, they are Longinus users, it's a miracle they won't alert gods of other factions. Issei. Come on, Penemu, it was just a little fight between me. I shut up when I saw the icy look Penemu was giving me. Penemu. Better shut up, okay? You guys only think about fighting. Issei. Okay, fine, we won't do it anymore. Penemu. I hope so. After our scolding we returned to Ku. The truth is I like it here. But anyway, let's not stray from the subject. When we returned they asked us where we had gone and we answered that it was a trip to England to visit family. After that the days continued to pass normally as usual, but all good things must come to an end. Issei. Parents' visit day? Val. Yeah, haven't you heard of it? Issei. I pay very little attention to what my classmates tell me, so I didn't know. Val. Well, as far as I know, it's tomorrow, but I don't think I'll be back for that. Issei. I will come, maybe something interesting will happen. Val. Well, it's your decision whether to come or not. After that we continued talking until the day ended, and we had to go home, where this time instead of ordering a delivery I cooked, and after dinner we did the homework. Seriously, I will always hate math and physics, but anyway, after that we started playing COD on our phones until bedtime. Issei. Vala, wake up, there are less than 40 minutes left until school, I said, waking Vala up. Vala. Damn the school, damn the sun, I swear I'll destroy you both, you'll see, Vala said, cursing. Issei. Language, I said, giving him a hint. Vala. Now let's get ready, although I'll be leaving in a while. Today is parents' visiting day. Issei. I know, but hurry up, we have to go. After that I took a shower, made some toast for breakfast, and after lunch I went to the garage. Issei. Today I'm debuting the Lamborghini. Val. I thought you wouldn't use it. Issei. I hadn't used it because I couldn't find the keys, I said, a little embarrassed. Val. How can you lose something you haven't used even once? Vala said to me, astonished. Issei. Leaving that aside, we don't have to go or it will get late. After that Vala got into the Bugatti. He really likes that car, but well, after arriving my classmates asked me if I bought a new car, but I just said that I hadn't used it, and well, after that classes started and the parents arrived. Thank goodness they don't know where I study in which classroom, because I already do a lot by not going to their houses to kill them so that they themselves get in front of me as if saying, kill me, here I am. Teacher. Now we'll see how creative you can be with this, the teacher said, holding up clay. Modeling clay? I don't really know what it was, but when I started, I didn't know what to do, so I just closed my eyes and let my hands move on their own. Aki. Issei-san, where did you learn to do that? Boy 1. It certainly looks good. When I opened my eyes, I found myself. The thing? I had my king's armor on, and I must say it looked pretty good on me. Boy 2. It really looks a lot like the illustrations of Arthur Pendragon's armor. Issei, that's because my armor is based on my ancestors, I thought with a nervous smile. From one moment to the next several girls were trying to buy my statuette, but all trace of smile and that I was having a good time disappeared when I turned around and saw them. There were those bastards, they haven't changed at all in 7 damn years. They were the unfortunate Issei Hyoudou and Issei Hyoudou. Those sons of hitches were in front of me. The only thing that stopped me from killing them was that we are surrounded by my classmates. Third-person narrative. Goro. It's been a while. Hi dash. He trailed off when I interrupted him. Issei. Don't you dare call me son, bastard, you don't deserve that privilege. Issei said coldly to the man in front of him. Mickey. Issei, son, let's talk, we can work things out. The woman said hopefully. Issei. I have nothing to talk to you about, just being around and talking to you and him disgusts me. Issei said, leaving everyone in shock because the same kind and always smiling person from every day just now made him seem like an icy warmer. After that, Issei left the classroom very upset. He was so upset that if there weren't people around he would have beaten them to death because they didn't deserve to die for a weapon as pure as his spear. After a while of walking, someone ran in front of him, and then he heard someone being called, but when he turned around he didn't expect the next thing. Asotan, wait for Oni-sama, Pum. Issei. Shit, I feel like a truck ran over me. He complained at the sudden blow he received. Ouch my head, are you okay? Sorry for falling on you, said a girl with violet eyes and black hair tied in 2 pigtails with a purple ribbon and a magical girl dress. Issei. A magical girl? Issei said confused. That's right, I'm the magical girl Sarafal Citri. You can call me Sarah-chan, she said, making a pose that Issei found strange but cute. Issei. Well, it's a pleasure, Sarah-chan. My name is Issei Pendragon. She is a very pretty girl, Issei said with a smile and a small blush at the pose the girl made. Sarafal. Well, I have to go now. I hope we see each other again, Issei-chan. He's very cute, but there's something strange about him, Sarafal said with a smile as she ran away again. After that, Issei was walking through the school. From afar he saw a red-haired man that he recognized from the moment he saw him. Issei. Sirzix Lucifer. And as if he had heard it, the red-haired man turned right towards Issei with a serious look. Issei. Can you hear me? He asked seriously, looking away and starting to walk. After that, Issei's day was going relatively normal. He found Vela being dragged to a warehouse by about 6 girls. After that, Issei continued his way through the academy, and on the way he met several of his classmates. He talked to them for a while, and then he left. He also met Sarafal again, but he had to say goodbye after a few minutes since she started chasing the student council president. Issei. Ha, what a boring day. Issei yawns from boredom and tiredness. Well, why don't you think of something to do? Issei. Isn't it dangerous for you to be here? Rainier? Well, since I refused to defect and join Kokobile, I don't have much to do. So because I liked it more Issei. Well, what happened? I doubt you'll come to me just because. Rainier. Azazel-sama said that the meeting with the demons and the angels will be in 3 days and he wants Vala and you to be his escorts, was what Rainier told him before sitting next to Issei. Issei. I see, but you know I'm still not interested in what you proposed to me. Rainier. And I still haven't taken it back. I want to be your wife. It was because of you that I didn't do the stupidity of deserting, and it was because of you and our promise to see each other again that I didn't leave Grigory. That's why I'll like you. She said the last part blushing and stuttering. Issei. You know I have a relationship with Penemu, Issei said, looking into her eyes. Rainier. That doesn't mean I'm going to give up. Penemu-sama may be the first, but I don't mind sharing you. Issei. We'll talk about this later, Rainier. Tell Azazel that in 2 days Vala and I will be in Grigory. Rainier. Well, I'm going now, Issei-kun. See you later. After saying that, she approached him and kissed him on the right cheek, and then left. Narrated by Issei. After my little chat with Rainier, I walked around until it was time to leave. Then I lay down at the foot of a tree, and when I woke up there was almost no one in the academy. Then when I looked at the time, and it was almost 6 in the afternoon. Issei. I'd better go home. Maybe those girls are already finished with Vala. After looking for my briefcase in the living room, I headed to where I had parked the car, but I found a not at all pleasant surprise. Hi, were again, but now they were with Max, Izumi, Rias, and Rias's brother. Issei. What the hell do they want now? Issei said, trying to stay calm. Max. Issei, we want to talk. Dad and Mom are really sorry and miss you. Issei. So I don't give a shit if they regret me, they can regret it until the day they die. Issei said. The more he spoke to her, the more venom there was in his voice. Goro. Do you despise your parents that much? Issei. I despise you so much that I'm tempted to kill you right now. When he said that, everyone's blood ran cold, not because of the threat but because he said it with complete sincerity. But I won't do it for the simple fact that death is too good for people like you. Rias. Issei, you are being too harsh, they are your parents. Issei. They are not my parents. Rias lost that right from the first contempt I received from them. Izumi. Issei, please at least listen to what they have to say. Issei. I'm not going to keep listening to your shit, Izumi, since I can remember. Do you know how many times I received a hug from this woman or a compliment of this type? Not once. They gave me food for not letting me die of hunger. But after you and Max were reincarnated as demons by Rias, I had to start making my own food. Do you know how many times I burned myself? No, of course you don't know because they weren't there to see it. After I had adapted to not seeing my brothers and having to depend on myself was when the physical abuse from that bastard began. He said, pointing to Goro. When he hit me, I had to wear a long sweater so they wouldn't notice the bruises on my arms. And when I thought they had finally come to their senses was the day he beat me as if he wanted to kill me, and then they abandoned me in a field. Now I ask you again, do you think you have the right to want to recover something that never existed, like a father and son or mother and son relationship between you and me? Because I don't believe they have that right. They are just bastards who wouldn't even pay for their sin with death. After that, Issei was going to continue on his way, but Goro stopped him and asked him, Goro, why can't you forgive us? Everyone deserves a second chance. Issei. Law of equivalence exchange. I can't forgive you since I was never to blame for anything, and yet you blamed me for everything when I didn't ask to be born, nor did I ask to have this appearance. Although you are right about that, everyone deserves a second chance. But that is only if your mistake was unintentional. Instead, what you and she did was intentional, and they had 10 years to repair their mistake, but they decided to continue drowning in hypocrisy and blame a child who didn't know what situation he was in. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going, my partner must be waiting. After finishing talking with them, Issei went to his car, not without first seeing Surzex, and then leaving. Issei. That guy is truly a monster. Just his presence for a censor like me is very oppressive, Issei said on his way home. When Issei arrived, Vala looked like a living skeleton, and when he asked him what had happened, he said that women are insatiable, and Issei didn't know what he meant by that. So 2 days later he and Vala went to Gregory, where Issei wanted to take advantage of it to spend time with Penemu. Issei. Do you know we could have the date I owe you today? He said while sitting next to Penemu on the living room furniture. Penemu. I prefer to have it when we don't have to think about what's coming next. Besides, I want the date we have to end up being something special for both of us, she said, turning to look at him. Issei. You're right, and I also want it to be something special for both of us, he said, bringing his face closer to Penemu's. Penemu. I hope so, he replied, repeating Issei's action. And before they knew it, there they were, joining their lips in a chaste kiss with nothing but love that showed all the feeling they had for each other. Issei. Well, let's go watch a movie. Penemu. Okay, I want to watch Avengers Endgame. I saw Infinity War, but I haven't been able to watch this one because of some things I had going on. F for my friend Tony. Issei. Okay, let's watch it then. For the rest of that day, Issei and Penemu spent their time watching movies until bedtime. The next day, Azazel, Shemhazai, Penemu, Vala and Issei were ready to go to the meeting. Azazel. Are you ready? Because I'm leaving. Penemu. Azazel, don't be stupid. If we're all here, it's because we're ready. Azazel. Well, if that's the case, then let's go, Azazel said as he made the magic circle and disappeared along with everyone present in a flash. Third-person narration. At Ku Academy, angels, demons, and fallen angels were seen gathered together, looking at each other as if they could kill each other with a glance, while inside, More specifically in the old building, in one of the rooms, several people could be seen gathered together waiting for someone. How long will it take for Azazel to come? Patience is a virtue, wait a little longer. Seraphal. But Sirzek-chan is taking too long. Sirzek. Don't worry, he should be arriving soon. I think the same as Sirzek. Urzex. See, even Michael knows he's almost there. Michael. Fufufu, well he's like that. Michael. What do you think, Gabriel? Gabriel. Azazel will make those strange faces again, the girl said innocently. I'm not going to fight with Wattpad because they deleted my image, so I changed it. Just at that moment, the fallen angel's teleportation circle appeared and 5 people all dressed in their own way emerged. Azazel. So it's been a while, right? Sirzek, Michael. Issei. Let's end this quickly, I don't want to be here, Issei said, uncomfortable with his brother's presence. Val. I don't want to waste time here when I can be training to get stronger. Penemu. Keep quiet, both of you, or maybe you'll fight again. Shemhazai. Please calm down, we don't want any trouble. Azazel. So what are we waiting for? Let's start the meeting. Chapter 10. Third-person narrative. Azazel. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's start the faction meeting, he said, having already taken his seat. When Azazel said that, the rest of the members of Rias Gremory's nobility entered the room. One of them identified Michael and Gabriel's companion as Irina, and Izumi was surprised to see Issei hi. Sirzek. Let me introduce them. They are my younger sister and her family. They played an important role in thwarting Kokobil's attack the other day. Michael. Good job, you have my thanks. Gabriel. Likewise, thanks for your hard work. Azazel. It was my fault one of my boys made a big fuss. Max. His attitude bothers me. Sirzek. With this, the 3 factions are gathered, let's begin the meeting. Rias. Those were the details of the incident, where I, Rias Gremory, and my family were involved. Sona. I, Sona Citri, testify that this report is true. Azazel. Thank you, that's enough. Seraphal. Thank you, Rias-chan, Sona-chan. Sirzek. After listening to Rias, I would like to know what the leader of the fallen angels has to say. Azazel. Who cares about my opinion? Kokobil acted of his own free will, he said nonchalantly. Michael. Are you saying you had nothing to do with this? He replied seriously. Azazel. I just let him roam freely, to know what his objective was. I'm sure he never imagined he would come to this city. It's a good city, right? He said, looking at Sirzek. Max. I click my tongue in annoyance. Sirzek. Don't change the subject, he mentioned when he saw Max's reaction. Azazel. As I said, I asked Issei Pendragon and the hacker Yuku to take care of everything. I even asked them to check first to make sure nothing happens to their beloved sisters. Azazel. Also condemn Kokobil to the depths of hell, he will not return. Michael. As stated before, the question here is why Kokobil did that. It was clear he wasn't very happy with your government. Azazel. Yes, it seems that he was not happy with the ridiculous conclusion of the previous Great War. Personally, I no longer have any interest in war. Now I am only interested in researching the sacred gears. Seraphal. I see, so there was some unrest among your troops, she said with a slight frown. Azazel. Of the 3 of us here, the only one who has complete control over his troops is Michael, so the demons can't say much, he said, annoying Seraphal with that comment. Sirzek. It has nothing to do with the meeting, the purpose of this meeting is dash. He couldn't finish his dialogue because Azazel interrupted him. Azazel. Let's end this boring talk and sign the peace treaty. After all, isn't that what you all want too? He said, surprising the others that he already knew the reason for the meeting. Michael. The great Satan and God, who were at the center of the last great war, are no longer here. Azazel. Therefore, I would like to hear the ideas of those who are not directly related to the 3 main factions and can influence the world with their powers and abilities, true Longinus, and Hacker Yuku. What do you think about all this? Val. I'm fine, as long as I can face people powerful enough. Azazel. Even if there is peace, there will be powerful people that you can fight against. Issei. As long as I can spend time with Penemu and continue to get stronger, I'm fine with peace. Surzex. Before continuing, Azazel, what do you want to achieve by gathering Longinus users? So far among your ranks are the True Longinus, Divine Dividing, Canis Lycaon, and Absolute Demise. In your possession are 4 of the 13 weapons capable of killing gods. Were you perhaps preparing for a war? We cannot make enemies at this time, especially when you have such powerful weapons at your disposal. Azazel. You're wrong about something, Surzex. I didn't gather them because I wanted to start a war. I did it because I wanted to investigate the Longinus, and the wielder of absolute desire is not affiliated with my faction. In any case, I wouldn't force them to fight. They would fight of their own free will. Wouldn't that be right, Val Issei? Issei. I owe you my life, Azazel, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't fight in something I didn't want to, although I wouldn't miss a war for anything in the world. Issei said, looking at the leaders. Val. I'm the same as Issei there. Val said the same way. Azazel. See? I have no intention of waging war. Now shall we continue? Michael. Before that, Hyoudou Maxkuin, you said before that you had a question for me. What would it be? Max. That's right, but now I also want to ask Azazel-sama something. Is that okay? Azazel. No problem, ask freely. Max. Well, Michael-sama, why did they excommunicate Asia? She is a faithful believer in God, why did you have to banish her? At that question, the aforementioned was surprised and went to see Max. Kiba. Max-kun, he said, putting his hand on Max's shoulder. Rias. Max. She also placed her hand on Kiba's hand on Max's shoulder. Michael. After God died, his system remained, in other words, his divine protection, benevolence, and miracles. Currently, the system can continue to function in a limited way, even though it is necessary to keep it away from anything that could negatively affect it. Max. So, is it because Asia can heal even demons and fallen angels? Michael. The faith of our followers is the source of our power. Anything that might be corrupt had to be eliminated immediately, or we could no longer maintain the system. Zenobia. That's why it was also necessary to eliminate those who accidentally learned of the non-existence of God. Michael. It's true, I've caused you and Asia Argento a lot of pain, I'm so sorry. At that, Irina was surprised and looked at Zenobia. Irina, haven't you betrayed the church? Zenobia. Please don't apologize, Michael-sama. As a person who was raised by the church, I had regrets for my decision, but now I am happy with my life as a devil. She said with a smile, and at that the others in the Gremory entourage also smiled. I apologize to the other believers. Asia. Me too. I'm happy with my life as a demon now, and I also have people who are very important to me, she said, smiling at everyone present. Michael. I appreciate you opening your hearts. Max. Now Azazel-sama, I want to ask Dash. He couldn't finish because Azazel interrupted him. Azazel. Before that, there was one of my subordinates who tricked me and killed one of you, he said, looking at Asia. Issei. I remember the crazy Calawarner woman. That woman was missing a few players from the team. She was definitely a crazy Azazel fan, Issei said, unbothered by the other's reaction to his comment. Max. Don't mind yourself and what doesn't concern you, Issei's brother shouted angrily. Max. That was done by a fallen angel woman who admired you, she killed Asia for you. At that comment, Azazel sharpened his gaze against the boy, causing him to momentarily cower. Azazel. The irresponsible acts of my subordinates are also my responsibility, that's why I will reward them with something that only I can do. Max. What did you say? Seeing that Max didn't calm down, Kiba and Rias took the aforementioned man by the shoulder again. Just at that moment a magic circle was activated outside the building. When that happened, Kiba and Zenovia's swords were activated and the true Longinus made an appearance. Max. What happened? He said, looking around and seeing that almost everyone was frozen. It can't be, has time stopped? Azazel. So it seems, leaving only those of us with great abilities. Val. Odd by the power of Albion, and Issei by the power of his Longinus, and you guys because you were touching the boy with the sacred demonic sword and the others by Durandal and Excalibur protecting themselves with the power of their sacred swords. At that moment an explosion was heard outside. As everyone approached the windows they noticed a group of people wearing strange robes. Max. Who are they? The boy said confused. Irina. They're magicians, she said to clear up the boy's doubt. Seraphal. What the hell? How rude to leave out the magical girl. Michael. But who wields this power? Azazel. Possibly they activated that half-vampire boy's power and combined it with their balance breaker. Max. Gasper? The boy exclaimed in surprise. Surzex. There are very few who have the ability to suppress it. It is very likely that he has fallen into the hands of the enemy, the red-haired man said seriously. Kiba. President, he said looking at Rias. Rias. That one of those despicable terrorists would take advantage of a member of my family is unforgivable and humiliating. Michael. The escort's magical teleportation? There's someone connecting the two doors from inside the barrier. Rias. Conversely, we are unable to use our teleportation magic, Rias said, seeing the situation. Azazel. They caught us. Michael. Yes, not only did they consider synchronization, but it also includes the manipulation of one of the members of Rias Gremory's nobility. Irina. A traitor? When she said that she turned surreptitiously towards Zenobia. Surzex. We can't just stand by and do nothing. At this rate, if Gasper-kun keeps this up, even we will. Azazel. Whatever, if we don't do something about that half-vampire boy, we'll be sitting ducks and won't have a chance to fight back. Rias. Oni-sama, she said, getting Surzek's attention. Surzex. Rias. The tower is still in the old academy building and we haven't used it yet. Surzex. Rook? I see a castling. Max. Castling? Kiba. It's a move where the king exchanges places with the rook. It's a special move used in chess? Surzex. But Rias, you'd have to go alone. Rias. Gasper is a member of my family. I will take responsibility and bring him back. Graphia. If we use Surzex-sama's power, we could send another person. Max. Then let me be the one to go. I'll protect Rias. At this, Rias just smiled. Surzex. I leave it in your hands. Val. Keeping the terrorists away from the half-vampire should be an easy task, but why do we go to such lengths instead of just killing him? Max. Damn, he said angrily at Vala. Issei. I just think the quickest solution is Vala's option, he said, supporting Valley, earning a dirty look from Kiba, Zenobia, and Rias. Azazel. Read the environment, Vala. Issei, it's time to make peace. Do you understand? Issei. I don't feel good doing nothing. Val. Same. Azazel. Then why don't you entertain the enemy for a while? If the Hakuryuku and the true Longinus show up, they will disrupt the enemy. Issei/Vala. Understood. They said in unison to leave through the window and begin flying against the magicians. Abian/Valley. Balance breaker. Issei. If you like to attract attention, well, leaving that aside, I do too. King's armor, he said as it began to shine blue for a moment, and then showed a silver armor with blue details and a black and white hood with a cape that began to flutter in the wind. Issei. Although it's not over. Armor of King Arturo Alter. After that, Issei shone again, but this time the glow was not blue, it was purple and red. When the glow dispersed, his armor was no longer silver, and with blue details it was now black and red. His hair became paler, almost white, and his green eyes turned golden, surprising almost everyone with such a drastic change. Now I'm ready, he said, letting go of his cape and turning towards the magicians. High began the massacre of the magicians by the hands of the Hakuryuku and the bearer of the most powerful Longinus. In the building. Max. They're very strong, plus that guy Vala can easily use his balance breaker and I have a countdown to use it. Zenobia. But that power can be very dangerous. Max. Rias, let's bring Gasper back. Azazel. Hey, wait a minute. Surzex. I'll leave Rias to you, Max-kun. Max. Hi, he said, taking Rias's hand and disappearing with her into the magic circle from which a tower piece fell when they left. In the old building, a red magic circle formed from which Max and Rias emerged. Max. Gasper, Kaneko-chan. Rias. Let's search the other rooms. Max. Hi, he said, taking what appeared to be bracelets out of his pocket and looking at them. Minutes ago. Azazel. Take them with you, those bracelets serve as a substitute for activation costs. Max. Substitute? You mean I can still use my balance breaker without a countdown? Azazel. Use it as a last resort, it cannot replace your strength. Max. I understand, he said, looking at the bracelets. In that duel against Razor, we won by pure luck, we won only because he was confident. The boy thought, frustrated. Azazel. You must use the other one on the vampire boy, it will nullify his powers. Azazel. Now listen carefully, it seems that until now they have won by pure luck and chance. It is as if you were only a human containing the form of a demon. If you cannot use your powers correctly, you will inevitably die. In short, you are the weak point of the sacred gear. Azazel said, looking at him seriously. Back to the present. Max. You don't have to tell me, he said, putting on the bracelet. In the new building, Surzax was holding Rias's tower piece and watching Vala and Issei's fight against the magicians. Surzax. As soon as Rias gets Gasperquin back, we'll start the counterattack. Grafia. Surzax-sama. At that, a magic circle appeared in the room, drawing the attention of Surzax and everyone else present. Surzax. A magic circle, isn't it? Good morning, Satan, Surzax-sama and Seraphal. Seraphal. What are you doing here? Surzax. You are one of the descendants of the original Leviathan, Kateria Leviathan. Kateria. A world of destruction and chaos. When she said that, a loud explosion occurred in that room. In the old building. Max. That was in the new building, he said, turning toward the aforementioned location. Rias. Oniai-sama, she said with concern. Back to the new building. Kateria. A protective barrier made by the leaders of the three factions. Kateria. How unsightly, she said mockingly to the leaders. Surzax. What are you planning, Kateria? The red-haired man asked her. Kateria. I have a different opinion about what they were discussing at that meeting. If neither God nor Satan are here, then this world needs to be reformed, she said nonchalantly. Seraphal. Kateria-chan, stop. Why are you doing it? Kateria. Seraphal, how dare you steal my position as leader of the Leviathan clan, while living a carefree life? The woman responded angrily. Seraphal. Kateria. But don't worry, I'll kill you right here and declare myself Satan Leviathan. Azazel. Yar, and I thought you were the center of a coup d'etat in the underworld. Michael. Your target is everyone? Kateria. That's right, Michael, a world that benefits from the absence of God and Satan. We will rebuild the lawless world and reform it with our own hands. Azazel. He ha 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 ha. Azazel had started to laugh at Kateria's words. Kateria. Azazel, what's so funny? Azazel. Ha 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 ha, lawless? Reformation? Good joke, those are the words villains usually say when they are about to die. Kateria. You dare to make fun of me, she said angrily, expelling her aura. Azazel. Is this okay with you, Surzax Michael? Surzax. You have no intention of backing down, right, Kateria? The Crimson Mao asked one last time. Kateria. Sure, Surzax, I understand that you are Satan, but unfortunately you are not the most powerful. Surzax. I see, it's a shame, he said, raising the barrier again. Azazel. You, descendant of Leviathan, the former Mao daughter of the monster of the apocalypse, are indeed a good opponent. Should I prepare for Armageddon then? Kateria. You are just the ruler of the fallen angels, she said, expelling her aura just like Azazel, disintegrating all the nearby mages. Kateria/Azazel. Let's get started. Chapter 11. Third-person narrative. Kateria/Azazel. Let's begin, they said, increasing their aura, turning all the nearby magicians to dust. In the old building, Rias felt a sudden surge of power, so she looked out the window, followed by Max. Rias. Azazel, and another person. Why that woman? Max. What's wrong, Rias? Rias. Kateria Leviathan, she was revealed when the previous Mao Leviathan died. She is linked to the election and re-election of the new Satan after that. You know that, right? She told Max while watching Azazel's fight against Kateria that was taking place with magical attacks. Max. Yes, I know, that's where your older brother and Sona's older sister were involved, who took the position of Lucifer and Leviathan. Rias. After a long and arduous fight, the demons finally retreated, thus succumbing to their losses. Had they continued, we would possibly have become extinct, but even when the blood of the previous Maos had been spilled, there was someone who maintained his position to continue the war. Because of that demon was expelled to the farthest corners of the underworld. She said, watching the fight in which it was shown that Azazel dominated with great mastery. Max. That means that, he said, already understanding what Rias meant. Rias. Kateria Leviathan was that demon, one of the descendants of the original Leviathan. Max. Rias, he said, turning to look at her. Rias. Let's go, Max. Max. But Rias, the others are dash. He couldn't finish because Rias interrupted him. Rias. We'll help him later, now we have something to do. Max. Promotion on horse, we need to be fast and accurate. Max. Okay, Rias, promotion knight. When he said the last thing, the one-piece figure of a knight appeared momentarily in front of him. After that, they arrived at their destination, where Max summoned the Incursio sword and Rias destroyed a wall through which Max entered at maximum speed, cutting everything that gave off unknown energy, thus securing Kaneko and Gasper. Mega. Damn demons, she said angrily, seeing that she was the last one left of her companions. Rias. You are the ones who are cursed for using my family for something so vile, Rias said as she entered the room. Mega. How the hell could they use magic circles? It was supposed to be impossible. Max. That's not something a dead person cares about, he said, having brought Gasper and Kaneko down. Back with the leaders. Michael. They outnumber us, we have to prevent this from becoming a battle of attrition, he said, worried that something might happen to his sister. Penemu. I think we could still win. Surzex. Right now Grafia is analyzing the door that brings the mages, he said, looking at Michael. Seraphal. That means we have to buy time until she's done. Kiba. We can do it, he said, taking out his sword along with Zenobia and Irina. Irina. I came as Michael-sama's escort after all. Michael. Let's hope Azazel can do his part well. Zenobia. Don't worry, Michael-sama, our comrades are with us. Kiba. Yes, the president will surely achieve it. After that, they launched themselves against the magicians, starting a very close battle. Old building. Kaneko. President, I'm sorry, she said, already free. Rias. It doesn't matter, Kaneko, the important thing is that you are not hurt. Mega. I'm going to kill you all dash. She couldn't finish because the next thing that happened was her head separating from her body. Max. I said the dead don't speak, he said from behind the mage, slowly turning his face to notice that one of his eyes had changed from green to blood red and with a pattern that resembled a cross. Rias. Max, you? She said, surprised. Max. We have to hurry, Rias, he said, calmer now. Rias. Yes, you're right. On the battlefield. Katera. Are you ready, Azazel? After saying that, she activated a magic circle and what looked like snakes came out of it. Azazel, a snake? Azazel thought, analyzing Kateria. After summoning the snake, it only surrounded Kateria's body, who only laughed and when she finished, launched a great attack against Azazel. Azazel. Before that, let's get a few things straight, he said, having dodged the attack and positioned himself behind Kateria. At this, Kateria only made a face of disgust and launched a blow surrounded by her aura against Azazel, but he stopped it effortlessly. Azazel. That great aura doesn't come from a mere descendant of a Mao, what is it that backs them up? Kateria. I have no need to answer, because each and every one of you will perish here. After that, Kateria exploded her aura to its maximum. Old building. Max. Come on, Gasper. Our friends and colleagues need us, he said with a smile as he approached the boy sitting on the floor. Gasper. Friends and companions? He said, getting up from the ground. Rias. That's right, Gasper. I know you feel bad because you think about this. For us, that doesn't matter. Keep in mind that all the problems that you cause, we will help you face them. That's why we are family, to support each other in the good and the bad. So don't think about that, and let's just keep moving forward, improving each other so we don't feel weak anymore, Rias said, speaking to him softly and with a warm smile. Max, you are definitely the best, Rias, he thought with a smile, and then spoke. Max. Gasper, listen to me, he said, causing the web vampire to notice him. Gasper. Yes, Max-senpai, he said, paying attention. Max. Gasper, you don't have to run away, you don't have to be afraid, and you don't have to cry anymore, because me, Rias, Akeno, Kaneko-chan, Asia, Kiba, Izumi and Zenobia are all companions, and that's why we will never abandon you. So what are you worried about, Gasper? You never do anything right if you don't move first, and when you do move, we will be there to back you up, because you are a member of the Gremory family, right? After saying that, he approached the boy, taking something out of his pocket. Max. Now come, I'm going to put this on you, he said, showing the bracelet from before. Gasper. What's that for? The boy said, confused. Max. With this, your powers won't be out of control anymore, he said, putting the bracelet on her. Gasper. Good. Rias. Well, let's not waste any more time. With Issei and Valley, they were annihilating all the magicians they saw in some kind of competition. Issei. So Vala, are you sure of what you're going to do? Vala. You know as well as I do that it's the best solution, he said, tearing a magician to pieces. Issei. You're right about that, but why not send someone else? Issei said, refuting Vala's response. Vala. I know how to take care of myself anyway, don't worry about it, Vala said confidently. Issei. I hope so, besides Azazel cares a lot about this, Issei said, cutting a group of magicians in half. Vala. I know, I still remember his reaction, he said with a small smile. Issei. That's right, ha. Flashback 4 days. In one of the training rooms, Issei and Vala were already recovered from their fight, discussing a topic. Issei. Vala, are you sure what you want to do? Issei said, looking seriously at Vala. Vala. That's right, Issei. I'll be joining the Khaos Brigade to act as a spy, Vala said the same way. Issei. Is there any way you can stop? He said, trying to persuade his brother. Vala. You know this would be too big a help, Issei. At that moment, Azazel arrived along with Penemu, who just jumped towards Issei. Penemu. Honey, I was looking for you. When the meeting is over in a few days, are we going to have our date? She said with a smile, hugging Issei like a koala. Issei. Yes, we'll have our date after the meeting, Issei said with a loving smile towards the woman. Azazel. Leaving aside their relationship, Issei, Vala, what were you talking about? He looked quite serious, Azazel said with a serious tone quite unusual for him. Vala. Azazel, I'll be joining the Khaos Brigade as a spy, he said seriously, looking at the man. Penemu. Vala, are you aware of what you're saying? She said this seriously, stopping hugging Issei. Azazel. This is very dangerous, Vala. I refuse to do this, Azazel said with a serious tone, but you could see a certain level of concern for the boy. Vala. Azazel, I'm not a child. I know I'm not the strongest, but I can at least defend myself. Azazel. What assures me that you'll be safe if something happens? Issei. I have a certain person who would support him from the shadows, and if things get too dangerous, he will help you escape, and if I tell him to escape, he will do it, Issei said, gaining the attention of everyone in the room. Azazel. Issei, what are you talking about? Azazel said seriously. Issei. Remember I told you I had a fight to find out where I came from? He said to receive a settlement. Well, the one who told me that belongs to the Khaos Brigade, to a certain faction of heroes. At that moment, Azazel's mind clicked. Azazel. Wait a minute, are you telling me those guys tried to recruit you? When he said that, Vala opened his eyes in surprise and Penemu was in shock. Penemu. Issei, why didn't you ever say so? She said a little worried. Issei. Because I didn't see the need for it, and besides, don't worry, they couldn't. He said, giving the woman a reassuring smile. Vala. So what did you mean when you said support? And who is it? Vala said, wanting to clear his doubts. Issei. Cao Cao, leader of the hero faction and current Issei Hyoudou An, is the person I'm talking about, and I say this because when they tried to recruit me we made a bet. Issei said, drawing the attention of Vala and Azazel. Vala. You fought against my other rival? Was he strong? Vala said with a certain level of excitement. Issei. At first his strength was not remarkable, he was like a high-class demon, our difference in power was abysmal, but from one moment to the next his strength increased to such an extent that with his speed and strength it was impossible for me to fight properly. For a moment I thought I would lose. Issei said to surprise everyone present. Azazel. Issei, are you telling me that you were about to lose? Azazel said dumbfounded. Issei's strength in his balance breaker subspecies was like a supreme-class devil, or a 10-winged fallen angel. How strong is the Issei Hyoudou An? Penemu. And how did you get out of that? She said the question that was on Vala and Azazel's minds. Issei. I awakened my true balance, and with the impulse of the moment I used my most powerful attack without holding back at all, but even so the guy remained conscious after that. Vala. Did you hear that, Albion? Our rival is strong enough to corner the most powerful Longinus, isn't that exciting? Vala said with a fierce smile and seemed very excited. Albion. You don't know how much, companion. Hakuryuku said in the same way as the boy. Azazel. Now what I want to know is, what bet did you make on that fight? Penemu. So what was so important that you would fight against the Issei Hyoudou An of this generation? Penemu said, coming out of his astonishment. Issei. We bet that if I fought against the main ones of that faction they would join my team and Cao Cao would tell me where my blood came from, but man, fighting against 3 Longinus was damn desperate. Azazel. I see, that's why you almost lost, you fought against 3 Longinus, now which ones were they? Azazel said, putting aside his seriousness, making everyone present sweat. Issei. Well, they were Boosted Gear, Annihilation Maker, and Dimension Lost, and none of them have exploited the full potential of their Longinus. Besides that, they all come from important people in history such as the Lady of Orleans or Cao Cao of the 3 Kingdoms, even the Dragon Slayer Siegfried. Azazel. Well, it's a relief that they're now your teammates, and if they'll support Vala in the event that he's discovered, I'm not opposed to him infiltrating. Azazel said, already resigned. Issei. I just have to let him know and everything will be ready. Issei said, making a communication magic circle and telling Cao Cao about the matter. Cao Cao. I will support him in everything I can when he is here, but when all this is over tell him that I look forward to our fight as well as Drake, said Cao Cao with an excited voice because of the magic circle. Issei. Okay Cao, I'll tell him. Issei said, ending the communication. It's done, he will support you in everything he can and he also said he expects your fight. Issei said, looking at Vala. Vala. Knowing that my rival is so strong is exciting, but now is not the time. Azazel will do it at the faction meeting, where there will be an attack to make my betrayal more believable. Vala said, looking at the 3 present. Azazel. Take care and don't risk being discovered. Azazel said with a small sign of concern. Penemu. I think you're strong, Vala, but don't get too confident and risk your life if you see that escape is impossible, she said, worried about her boyfriend's brother. Issei. The one who claims to be my rival can't be killed by mere terrorists, Issei said, stretching his fist at Vala. Vala. HMP, who do you take me for? I am the powerful, Hakuryuku, besides I am the most powerful of the past, present, and future, Vala said, bumping his fist against Issei's, bringing a smile to everyone present. Issei. I hope so, brother. End flashback. Issei. Well, you just have to wait for Azazel to finish his fight. he said, killing several magicians with a magic shot. Val. So it shall be. Chapter 12. Omniscient Narrator. Azazel and Kateria continued their fight more evenly than before, and with the others you could see Kiba killing magicians, but he didn't realize there was one behind him. Wizard. Die, filthy demon, he said, casting a magic spell. But before he could do so, he was pierced in the forehead by a sword. Max, I think you're the one who's dead here. When he said that, he ran and cut the magician in two. Kiba. Max-kun, he said, looking at the newcomers who were Max, Rias, Gasper, and Kaneko. Max. Guys, are you okay? He mentioned, looking at them. Kiba. Yes, Max-kun, we are fine. Rias. Good. After this she approached Surzex. Rias. Oni-sama, we already know the situation, so I ask you, can you take care of Gasper? Surzex. Okay. Kaneko. Here they come again. She said she's seeing a mob of magicians in front of them. Max. It doesn't matter, we just have to defend this place until the portal closes, right? He said, putting himself on guard. After that they began to battle against the magicians, although they had a disadvantage due to numbers being only slowed down by Rias, who used a defensive magic circle. Surzex. Of your group, only Rias could make a defensive circle of that magnitude, he said, looking at the aforementioned. But due to receiving several attacks, Rias's circle was broken, leaving her unprotected, but when something was going to attack Rias, it was intercepted by Max. Gasper. It's my fault, he said, almost crying. If it weren't for me. President Rias, Max-senpai, he shouted, getting the attention of the young people. Gasper. I want to be a man like your senpai. I also want to live up to your expectations, President. That's why I will also fight for the sake of my friends, he said, taking off the bracelet that kept his powers. Rias. Gasper, don't do it. Oni-sama, stop, Gasper, she said worriedly. After that, Gasper began to shine along with the others in the barrier. Rias. Gasper. Azazel. Who, it seems they did it. Kateria. TCH, damn useless wizards. With Vala and Issei. Issei. It seems they managed to stop the Damphor's sacred gear, he said, stopping. Val. It seems so. Issei. It's almost time, he said, looking in Azazel's direction. With the leaders. Those under the effect of the sacred gear were beginning to move. Akeno, Era. Asia. Sona. What's going on? She said, confused. Tsubaki. I have no idea. Seraphal. Sona-chan, welcome, she said, hugging the girl. Sona. Owani-sama? Rias. So Gasper cancelled the effects of the temporary strike? Graphia. The enemy portal is also cancelled, she said in her usual tone. Seraphal. With this we'll be safe for a while. Max. You did it well, Gasper, he said, congratulating the boy. Although he was so tired that he fell asleep but was caught by Asia before he fell. Asia. What's going on? She said, she's quite confused. Rias. I'll explain later, we have to finish this first, so I need your help. After that they began to fight the magicians as best they could. Surzex. Let's not let the mages regroup for now, or they'd be a nuisance. Penemu. Even so, this victory is already assured. With Azazel and Kateria. In the battle of the two, Azazel's total dominance was seen, which had activated a golden armor with purple details which he named Downfall Dragon Spear, which he used against Kateria, who could barely keep up with him even with Ophus's snake. Azazel. You'd better give up and surrender or you'll die here. Kateria. I won't give myself to anyone, and if I die you'll go with me. After saying that, Kateria grabbed one of Azazel's arms and began a chant, but before finishing something happened that surprised her. Azazel had cut off her arm, and the next moment, he threw a spear of light that pierced between her eyes, killing her immediately. After that, Azazel cauterized her wound and made her armor disappear, and she would stay in the air. Azazel. It seems that it still needs a few touches, he said, holding what looked like the tip of a spear with a purple gem. although after that something made him hit the ground, causing him to crash in a part not far from the other leaders. Azazel. You gave me a good hit, didn't you, Vala? He said, getting up without much or any damage. Vala. Sorry, Azazel, but this side seems more fun to me. Besides, I could barely sneak away from Issei. Azazel. I see, so you were the traitor, right, Vala? Besides, Shemhazai, my right-hand man here present, has been investigating a group of terrorists led by the Ouroboros. Vala. You're right, Azazel, but the others only joined because they want to use our power. Azazel. For a moment I thought you had conspired with Kateria Leviathan to take the throne of the demon kings. Val. That couldn't be less important, Azazel. Surzex. What are you two talking about? Val. Let me explain that to you. My real name is Vala Lucifer. I am the grandson of the Mao Lucifer. I am his direct descendant, the mixed offspring of a pure demon and a human woman. After saying that, he opened his wings, these being 4 pairs of wings plus the 2 from Albion. After that, everyone except Azazel, Penemu, and Shemhazai burst into shock because of what they had just heard. Val. I sincerely believe that the word miracle was created for me after all dash. He couldn't finish when he was interrupted by a voice. Issei. Don't you think you've boasted enough, Vala? After all, you're not the only one who comes from a renowned bloodline. Vala just looked at Issei with some annoyance for a moment before smiling maliciously. Val. Oh well, you're right, aren't you, Issei Pendragon? Direct descendant of King Arthur Pendragon? This is certainly interesting if you're someone worth it. For those who did not know this information, they were very surprised, but immediately after they turned to see Azazel, who only had a satisfied smile when he saw their faces. Michael. This is unheard of that the father system has chosen the descendant of Lucifer to carry a Longinus, even more to the White Emperor Dragon. Gabriel. That boy doesn't speak the truth, his heart hides a great pain and desire for revenge. He thought. He was looking at Vala. Although she was brought out of her thoughts when she saw the aura of the 2 boys in front of her being released. Issei. I'm going to tell you this one last time, Vala, surrender and give yourself in. He said, increasing his aura, which was beginning to suffocate the weaker demons. After that, the place fell into a deathly silence, which only increased the tension in the air. Max. This amount of aura and power that those 2 exude is very dangerous, he said with a slight fear in his voice. Izumi. Issei nai. Shout is worried to start moving forward, being stopped by Azazel. Azazel. If you come closer now, you will die just by coming into contact with his aura. Trust him and stay here, he said seriously to the girl who had a look of helplessness just like Max. Penemu. Issei, be careful, don't get too confident, please. She said she is a little worried, even knowing how strong Issei was. She worried about him being the boy who stole her heart. Issei. Of course I'll be careful. After all, I promised you a date, didn't I, love? This comment made the beautiful fallen angel blush, who only murmured something like "Baka" from what Issei heard. Val. Are you done being so cheesy with your girlfriend? This arrogant guy said. Issei. Criticize me when you touch your first breast, he said with a triumphant smile. Val. Humph, you know very well that I prefer butts, he said, not caring that he was in the presence of several girls and the leaders. Azazel. This boy fills me with pride, he said, wiping away a manly tear. Issei. Well, a lot of talk, little action, he said, standing on guard with his spear. Val. You're right, he said, adopting a hand-to-hand fighting stance. After that, the place fell silent again, but it didn't last long, because in the blink of an eye, Vale and Issei were clashing forearms and spears respectively. Issei. I'll beat you again, you have no chance, Vala. Val. Keep dreaming, you're getting very good at it, he said, and then kicked Issei in the side, sending him to the ground. But before receiving the blow, he reincorporated himself in the air, falling with his knees bent, gaining momentum. Issei. Mana burst, he said as his energy burst in a moment, and then shot out at a speed only perceptible to the leaders and Vala, who put up a defensive magic circle, but it was easily pierced by the spear. Issei. Do you really think that will stop my spear? he said, but Vala narrowly dodged the weapon, leaving Issei exposed, which he took advantage of to launch a magical lightning attack which was fully received by Issei, which sent him strongly against the ground, generating a cloud of dust. Penemu. I see. She said she is worried. Issei. I'm fine, he said, emerging from the cloud of dust as if nothing had happened. Val. Magic resistance? That's new, he said, immediately guessing why Issei wasn't hurt. Issei. My ancestor had it, so it's not surprising that I have it. Although I think I should level up, he said, causing 7 orbs to silently appear behind him, which surprised the young demons greatly because his previously enormous power became even greater, apart from the fact that the sacred element in the air began to do its thing, causing their bodies to release steam. After this, the leaders put up a barrier to block the passage of energy in the air to avoid damage. For his part, Issei made one of his orbs get closer to his back, which allowed him to rise from the ground without the need for wings and then begin to approach Vala. Vala. Who, are you coming closer to me? He said, amused, but Issei just re-equipped his Tyrant King armor. Issei, with a more subdued tone, only said to Vala, Get ready. After that, he disappeared from the sight of everyone present except one who was none other than Serzex, who only had one thought. He's very fast. Then he appeared next to Vala with the bar of his spear lashing his side and breaking his armor without much effort, taking part of it in the way. Vala was stunned, since the last time Issei used this armor he wasn't that fast, but he didn't count on Issei reinforcing his body and also using mana burst at the same time, which propelled him to a new scale. Issei. I have to hurry this. I only did it for an experiment, but it uses more mana than I thought it would. What's wrong, Vala? Too fast for you? Vala. You wish. This just makes it more exciting, he said, repairing his armor. Issei. Then come with everything and don't stop, he said, walking again towards Vala, but from one moment to another he would disappear and reappear in front of him, hitting him with his closed fist, pushing Vala a few steps back. Vala. Honestly, this is beyond me, but it's nothing that can't be fixed. After that, the white wings behind him spread out, and Albion's voice echoed, using his signature skill. Albion. Divide. After that, Vala's aura shot up again, which caused confusion in Issei, since according to him Vala had no one to divide his power to increase his own. Vala. If you didn't understand it, I'm not going to explain it to you either. It seems that dividing the mana from the environment works well. Albion. Partner, this is just experimental, something that only worked because a fight against many mages took place previously, so the environment is full of mana. Later on, we will have to get ready to be able to use this technique at 100%. Issei didn't wait much longer and went against Valley, but to his surprise he managed to react by stopping him and counterattacking. For this one was easily dodged, although that didn't end there, because Issei managed to connect a kick to Vala's chest, sending him flying against the academic gym, which then followed him at great speed. Val. How is he so fast? I have a hard time keeping up with him, he thought, watching how Issei approached at great speed. But before receiving another blow he stabilized and then rose into the sky, but this was of little use because Issei followed him and began a hand-to-hand battle in which he had the advantage because Vala was careful with his spear. Although it was Vala's carelessness, Issei broke his guard and gave several stabs in a row, a few of which made cuts, but there was one that made Vala scream in pain because he received a somewhat deep cut on his right side, which, due to the sacred element of the weapon, caused unbearable pain for Vala, causing him to release his balance breaker and remain on the ground on his knees holding his side, although he was getting quite annoyed because he couldn't do anything against Issei. Val. Albion, I'm going to use it. Albion. You can't, mate, right now you'd let your emotions guide you. Val. It doesn't matter. Val. The one who wake dash. This was interrupted because the barrier that was in place was destroyed, causing everyone's attention to focus on the person who had just arrived. Vala, they left you in a bad way, huh? Val. Shut up, Biko, what are you here for? Biko. The battles against the northern deities will begin very soon, so we have to prepare to go, he said, helping Vala to stand up. Issei. And what makes you think I'll let them go? He said as he points his spear at these two. Azazel. Calm down, Issei, he said, entering the scene so they would stop. Well, isn't this a very particular pair? The new generation of Sun Wukong and the White Dragon Emperor. Biko. I'm sorry, Governor, but we'll talk later, he said, sinking into a doorway just like Vala. Vala. Goodbye, you two. Next time we see each other, I will be stronger. Meanwhile, don't forget me, he said with a smile. Issei. Rest assured, besides, you're not the only one who will get stronger when we meet again. I'll kick your ass again. At this, Vala just smiled in defiance, disappearing into the portal, although right after that Issei dematerialized his spear and armor, and fell sitting down, breathing heavily. Azazel. Wanting to act tough in front of Vala? That will only motivate him to get stronger. Although before they could say anything else, Issei was caught in a hug by Penemu, who didn't want to let go. Issei, I wouldn't mind dying like this, said with shortness of breath as he was squeezed into Penemu's prominent bust. Penemu. You fool, you make me worry so much, she said, tightening her hug even more. Azazel. Penemu, you're killing him, he said, amused, watching Issei go from blue to purple due to lack of air. After Penemu released Issei, they approached where the others were, where they were greeted with looks of relief and others of confusion. Surzex. Well, I think we can end this peace summit between factions. Azazel. So it seems now I can finally go to that club I saw. Ouch, I'm sorry, I was just playing, he said in pain because Penemu was pulling him by the ear. Penemu. You better, he said, letting it out. Michael. Now we can return to heaven, he said with a smile. Gabriel. That's right, brother, he said with a smile. Issei. Issei was surprised, to say the least. He had heard that voice before. At first he didn't pay attention to it because he was thinking about many things, but now that he paid enough attention, he realized that voice was the same one he heard twice coming from his mind. The same angelic voice full of kindness that spoke to him in his childhood. Issei immediately turned to Gabriel, who noticed this and smiled at him, but he just frowned, although he gathered his courage and asked. Issei. Why does your voice sound so familiar to me? Chapter 13. Why does your voice sound so familiar to me? A young man with blonde hair and emerald green eyes would say. At this moment, the leaders along with the Gremory and Citri nobles had just heard this question. Some found it strange, but one in particular didn't, since he already knew why the question. Well, that's easy to answer. My Issei, I always took care of you. And even when you needed someone the most, I always comforted you. In your dreams or your mind, I was always there for you. That was the answer that came out of the lips of a blonde woman, with eyes as pure as the sky. This woman was Gabriel, one of the seraphim of heaven, and also the most beautiful and strongest angel when it comes to women of this one. Many of those present were surprised by her words, and so was Issei. Are you telling me that the voice I heard was yours? Yes, I was always watching over you and watching over you. After all, that's the duty of a guardian angel. To watch over the person I swear to protect. I was even the one who told Azazel where you were a few years ago. Or why do you think he arrived so quickly? At this, several people only exchanged looks of confusion between Issei, then Gabriel, and finally Azazel. That's right. I remember the beautiful Gabriel contacting me in an emergency. And in a desperate tone, she said something like, "Please find him, protect him, and train him." I can't do that, since I can't leave heaven without raising suspicion. And after sending a coordinate, she cut off the communication. I was confused, but imagine my surprise when I arrived and saw the gun that killed my brother in the hands of a child. Although it was good, otherwise I would have had to bring you with me by force, after all. I couldn't let you go down the wrong path. I see, in a way I understand, and that solves how Azazel arrived so quickly that day, he would say, realizing what happened that day. Penemu, who at some point in the conversation had approached Issei, hugged him and tried to make him relax, since this must have been too much information for just one day. Thanks, Penemu. I needed that, he says, reciprocating his girlfriend's hug. After all, it's not every day that you get told about how you've been watched your entire life, and even how meeting the man you now consider your father was planned. Don't worry, dear, after all. I'll always be there for you, she said with love and affection toward the young man. To which the seraph smiled, knowing that Issei was with someone who loved him. Okay. With that said, and the peace signed, I propose we men go somewhere nice. I'll pay for the women and the alcohol. What do you say? Said the fallen angel, trying to lighten the mood. It worked, but as soon as one of the men present tried to raise his hand, he was glared down by the girls present. Nigarundea, was the last thing he said before running away to avoid being beaten by a Penemu that was surrounded by a violet-colored fire. It's amazing that he didn't hit you, was the sincere opinion of our protagonist who was in his office. It was because of that technique. You should learn it. I learned it from a family of humans and it's foolproof, he said, puffing out his chest in pride. And I see, it must be very good for you to have managed to escape from Penemu. You know, you should give her a nickname. She'll be upset if you don't come up with one. I mean, she calls you Issei, so it wouldn't be strange if you did too. And it was true, even though they already had a stable relationship. Issei didn't know how to get closer to Penemu. Yes, you're right. I was thinking about Nimue, but I don't know if she'd like it. What do you think? Nimue, that's a good one. Any meaning behind the nickname? No. It's just that I think it's cute, and as you know, she likes pretty things, he said, trying to hold back a blush upon seeing Azazel's mocking smile. Oh? Who would have thought it? The great Issei Pendragon thinking of something nice, haha. Let me tell Betrayal, he said with a big laugh at the end. Yes, whatever you want. At least I have a partner, Millennial Bachelor. And as if it were a tremendously strong blow, Azazel collapsed in his chair and almost spit blood. And Issei, seeing that his mockery had an effect, just smiled mockingly and smugly. Oh, okay, you win this time. Well, tell me why you're here. I doubt you're just looking for advice on what nickname to give your partner, he said, changing from one moment to the next now, showing great seriousness. You're right, I want to go. And obviously I'll take Nimue with me. Seeing that Azazel wanted to protest, he just raised his hand to signal for him to let him finish. I want to put together a team, just like Valley has his. I'll do it too, it won't take long. It'll only be 2 months at most, anyway. I need Nimue to come with me so I have someone trustworthy that I know won't betray me. What you're asking is difficult, not because of you. Because as I told you the day I brought you here, you're free here. The problem is with Penemu, she's a cadre. Besides, she's too close to me and Shemhazai. So her sudden disappearance would bring doubts and questions. I thought so too. But they can say she was sent to investigate, and that they can't say where for security reasons, after all. The fallen angels have plenty of enemies. That's a valid point. But is it certain that it will only take you 2 months, or at most 3, to return? Azazel would say, placing a fist against his cheek to support his head. Yes, that would be all the time needed, he said confidently before turning around and starting to leave the office, already knowing how this conversation had ended. When are you leaving? Tomorrow. Today I have to fulfill what I promised you, he said, having already left the room. Really? What am I going to do with these children of mine? One is now a rebel terrorist, and the other a horny pubescent, he would say, letting out a sigh of tiredness. Well, it doesn't matter, although now that I think about it. If Issei and Penemu have a child, would it be an uncle or a grandfather? Yes. Darling, said the purple-haired girl with joy at finally being able to go out with her boyfriend on a date. Where do you want to go, Nimue? He said with the woman's new nickname, who was surprised by the nickname. And Nimue? She would say, embarrassed by the affectionate nickname the boy had given her. Yes, why you don't like it? He would say, somewhat nervous about the girl's response. Why I like it? It's very cute. It just surprised me. At this, Issei smiled happily and kissed the girl, taking her by surprise, although after coming out of her daze she reciprocated the kiss, although it was gradually escalating, until it reached the point where it was quite intense. Wait, let's stop here. If we continue I won't be able to contain myself. The one who said this was Penemu, and although they had already had a few encounters it was still quite tempting to keep doing it. Why yes, you're right, Issei would say with a blush on his cheeks and licking his lips, they taste like strawberry, that being his thought regarding the lips of the beautiful fallen angel. At this moment Penemu and Issei were at the latter's house in Ku, already in the living room ready to go on their date. Well, I'd like you to choose. After all, we've been to the places I've wanted to lately, she would say, still somewhat embarrassed by what happened earlier. Then, close your eyes. He would say, standing next to her, and then making a teleportation magic circle. All right. Paris, near the Eiffel Tower, France, 6:20 p.m. Behind one of the establishments near the main streets we can see how a magic circle is formed with angelic engravings belonging to the fallen angels, from which two figures can be seen appearing, identifiable as a man and a woman. Where are we? The woman would say, somewhat confused, since just a second ago it was broad daylight and now it was getting dark. We're in Paris, 7 hours away from Japan, said the young man, taking her hand to leave the back of the establishment, greeting the owner who just turned to look at him out of the corner of his eye, smiling, showing his somewhat sharp teeth. Thank you, Mr. Vlad. You're welcome, young Issei, he would say with respect towards the young man. After leaving the establishment, Penemu would see Issei in search of answers about how he knew the owner. Let's just say that when I was looking for fights, I ran into a pretty strong vampire whom I challenged and won. But only just. And even then, I think he held back so as not to kill me. Afterwards, he just brought me here, treated my wounds, and said it would be a shame to kill someone who has also followed the path of the spear. From that moment on, I'd been coming back from time to spar or just to have a drink. There are several things you haven't told us about your trip, the Fall would say with a tender pout of annoyance. Come on, it's not that big a deal. I just met some people, made contacts and a few friends. Nothing out of the ordinary, right? Fine, never mind. Let's go to our date, shall we? As the queen commands, Issei would say, amused upon seeing the blush on the cadre's face. After that, they both started walking around the shopping malls, something that Issei had to be strong about when Penemu entered a clothing store. Was it necessary? Issei would say, watching as they filled shopping bag number 20. It's never enough when it comes to shopping, Penemu would say, puffing out her chest proudly, which brought looks from more than one person, but nothing that a little killer instinct and an icy glare from Issei won't fix. After putting the purchases in a dimensional pocket, both continued on their way, and seeing that it was almost 8 p.m., they decided to eat something, although when they arrived at the restaurant, they caught the attention of everyone in the place. Since their appearances, even being Paris where green eyes and blonde hair weren't that rare, Penemu and Issei's appearance was quite exotic and pleasing to the eye. Hey, are they models? The guy is quite handsome and the woman is beautiful, said one of the waiters at the establishment. I have no idea, but look at them. They look great together. I'd love to have someone like that, his partner would say, looking at Issei, thus earning her a dangerous look from Penemu. As that simple action made it clear that those two were a couple, almost everyone decided not to intervene, but as they say, almost everyone. Nimue, I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom, Issei would say, receiving a nod from the woman. After a few moments, a rather large man approached Penemu with a look that seemed like he was going to undress her. Hey, woman, what are you doing with that boy? He won't know how to satisfy you, he would say, speaking French. And could you? Don't make me laugh. You're not even close to my boyfriend, Penemu would respond. Although to others it seemed like she spoke perfect French, this was only because of the ability every angel is born with, the same one that reached the demons when Luzbel fell and became Lucifer. Oh? Are you sure about that? I can tell you, I'll make you touch the sky, you don't need that brat. Well, I've heard a lot. Now stay away from me, girlfriend, if you don't want to die, Issei would say with an icy glare while it seemed like the temperature of the place was dropping rapidly. Ha! You think you're a brat? At that, Penemu and Issei realized something. This guy is using the language of demons. At first, Penemu didn't pay attention to him, but now that she listened to him calmly, she got a little worried. Not because Issei was in danger. No, it was because they were in a place full of civilians. TCH, Nimue. Sorry, but we're leaving. Issei would click his tongue and take her hand. Probably having come to the same conclusion as her, it wasn't safe to fight here. With this the demon let them go, but then he smiled and left the place shortly after. I see, he's following us, Penemu would say at the same pace as Issei as they crossed through alleys and kept their aura as suppressed as possible. Don't worry, Nimue. If that comes to that, I'll kill him, he said with a cold stare, keeping Penemu close. While they were having that exchange of words, the demon was chasing them at a constant pace, about 100 meters away, although what stood out was a green magic communication circle. That's right, my lord. The woman holds sacred power within her. And although she doesn't seem to be in the church, I'm sure she'll enjoy it. After all, she's a beauty. Anyway, what do I do with the boy? Kill him, and wait for me with the woman. I'll let you have her after I'm tired, kukukuku. Good work, was the response from the other side of the communication loop. Very well, that's what I'll do, Lord Astaroth the demon would say, having already reached both of them and standing in front of them. What, you fell in love with me? Let me tell you, I don't like faggots, you dirty demon, the young man would say with hatred in his voice, which surprised Penemu. Although after thinking about it, it made sense. Issei has reasons to hate demons. And even more so if they provoke him. I'll kill you, and since I see you know what I am, you disgusting, damn monkey. I'll tell you this once, I'll tear off your arms and legs and then burn them so you don't die, and then you can watch me buck your wife while she screams your name for help. To say Issei was upset would be an understatement. He was furious. This disgusting creature not only messed with him, but now he said he would commit such atrocities against his beloved. This was unforgivable. They had sinned against the queen, and the king's duty was to execute anyone who committed such a daring act. Unforgivable. His tone was deathly cold, and it seemed as if the surrounding area was starting to freeze. It was unusual, since Issei had never trained his magical abilities beyond the enhancements. Issei? Although her tone of voice was to see how surprised she was to see Issei like that. Dirty rat, you have sinned against me, queen. At this moment you enter judgment. And so, unknowingly Issei had awakened a unique ability of King Arthur's judgment was the ability. It takes a complicated concept such as judgment to enforce the word and whim of the king. On your knees before your king, you filthy rat. And as if his body didn't belong to him, the demon knelt, leaving Penemu in disbelief. Anything to say before your execution? And here comes the second part of the judgment skill, execution or penance. With execution, the victim's soul is invaded by the king's magical power, destroying and shattering it without even leaving a fragment. And with penance, the king imposes a punishment that cannot be lifted until the king decides otherwise. And I was just following orders, my king. This impacted Penemu and the demon himself, since he was recognizing Issei as a king. Bring to the garbage that attacked the king and queen. Why, yes. After this the demon made a green magic circle which had the diagram of the Astaroth house, which was recognized by Penemu. My lord, the work is done, you can come to my position, he said with great calm without letting see the nervousness he had before. Excellent, wait, I'm coming. Moments before, Underworld. I am Diodora Astaroth, the second son of the great house of Astaroth and younger brother of the super demon Ajuka Beelzebub, one of the Yon Daimao. Therefore I only deserve the best of the best, be it women, clothing, food, and even acquaintances. A few moments ago, my stupid subordinate called me from France, saying he'd found a beauty with sacred power. And the mere thought of corrupting that woman who wields something so pure makes me hard as a rock. Even though it took him a while to call me, I only gave that idiot one order. Kill the boy and wait for me with the woman. Is that so difficult? TCH, how long is it taking? I thought it would be quick, I'm getting impatient now, you useless bastard, why is it taking so long? Although before he could continue complaining, a magic circle appeared in his ear in which he heard the voice of his subordinate, and although it seemed strange to him that he was so calm, his lust won. So he teleported immediately after saying that he was going there. Current time. What's going on? Why is Issei acting like this? These and more questions were going through Penemu's mind, who didn't know what was happening to Issei. At that moment a green magic circle was created, making Issei, who seemed to be in some kind of trance, turn to look at it. The heir of the human world is still shit, a young man with rather dark green hair and extravagant clothes typical of the high nobility who wants to show off his fortune would say. Huh! What's going on here? Diodora was quite confused. His subordinate had told him the job was done. But now he arrives, and it turns out he's kneeling on the floor with his head bowed in submission. Shut up, trash doesn't talk. Kneeling beside the other rat, Issei spoke again, and once again, his word was law. Diodora, not understanding why he remained silent, knelt down and bowed his head beside the other demon. They have sinned against the queen and conspired to try to kill the king. Those are sins that must be paid for. My knights will pass sentence. At that moment, Issei's figure was covered by an armor that at first glance demonstrated royalty, and yet the ferocity of a lion. And on both sides of him, several figures in different armor appeared, although somewhat translucent. The Knight of the Lake calls for death for traitors. The Knight of the Sun asks for death for sinners. The Knight of Betrayal asks for death from the rats. The Knight of Lament asks for death from the garbage. Death. 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 The sentence has been planned. The rats are condemned to death. Their souls will be destroyed, and they will never be able to reincarnate again. After those words that carried all the king's fury, an aura between white and black covered Diodora and the other demon, who began to scream in agony, and little by little their essences and lives abandoned them, which was reflected in their eyes when they turned white and seemed to have no life, thus leaving only two empty shells. After these died, the people who were around Issei turned to him, knelt down, and said in unison, "Long live the new king! So you're disappearing as if you were never there." After that, Issei, still with the armor on top, only the helmet having disappeared, which with little articulated movements was incorporated into the armor. He had the icy look from a few moments ago, although it is slowly disappearing, revealing a bewildered look. UUHGW, what happened? My head is killing me, and Nimue, and before he could say anything else he fell to the floor, completely fainted. After all, handling a concept is not something for humans. I see, wake up. Penemia had despaired seeing him fall like that, although she calmed down a little more when she saw that he was unconscious. I'll take you to Gregory. Azazel must know what happened, and just like that he made a magic circle, leaving the bodies lying there as if they were nothing. I see, so he awakened that stupid ability, said Azazel somewhat nervously. What was that ability? That wasn't something I'd seen before. Penemia asked, seeing an unconscious Issei on a stretcher in Gregory's medical wing. Our father recognized very few kings in his lifetime. One of those few was Arthur Pendragon, the Lion King, or King of Knights, at that time King of Great Britain. In his recognition for having abandoned his happiness and well-being in favor of his people, father gave him the Excalibur that we knew in the Holy War. And apart from that, he gave him the concepts of judgment, which is divided into two: judgment and execution or penance, and that of justice, which I am grateful that Issei has not awakened, since now we know that he may have it too. What does the concept of justice mean? Penemia would say, somewhat confused by Azazel's nervousness. Anything the wielder of justice doesn't deem just will be erased from existence. But this puts a tremendous strain on the user's body. If Issei was left like this from using judgment, what do you think would have happened if he had used justice? He would have died now. Penemia understood why Azazel looked so nervous. Yes, his body is young, and he hasn't matured enough to be able to use those powers in their proper form without repercussions. Unless his body becomes more resilient, or we find a way to keep his body from breaking under the strain of said abilities, they are strictly forbidden to Issei. Yes, I'll tell him. We'll have to find a way to keep it from affecting him, Penemia would say, approaching the stretcher and sitting next to Issei, who was sleeping like a baby. Then I'll leave that to you, Penemia, Azazel would say with regret when he saw that my cadre was about to cry. With Azazel gone from the room, Penemia began to cry as she repeated, "Don't leave me!" over and over to a sleeping Issei. Chapter 14. Gregory. In the Bible, Gregory is described as the observers of the sons of God. Although it is also an organization that created one of the first fallen angels, Azazel the governor of the fallen angels. The Gregory from the Greek egregoro, which means observers or watchers, also known as sons of Elohim in Hebrew, are a group of fallen angels from Jewish history mentioned in some Jewish and biblical apocryphal texts, and in the book of Genesis. These texts mention that the Gregory were beings who fell in love and mated with the daughters of man. In Hebrew, Banat Ha'adam. From this union, a race of demigods known as the Nephilim were born. According to the Book of Enoch, the Gregory number 2,200,000 myriads, but only their leaders are mentioned. These are the names of their chiefs: Azazel, who was their leader, Urikabaramiel, Achabiel, Tamiel, Ramuel, Danel, Azkiel, Sarachniel, Asael, Armas, Betrayal, Anain, Zavib, Samsaviel, Erdal, Turel, Yomiel, Samayaza, Kokabiel, Barakiel, Shemhazai, and Penamir. The latter was quite worried, as almost 24 hours ago her beloved had entered a trance-like state that had allowed him to use a powerful ability. However, he remained in such a state that Azazel himself said he would be in danger of dying if he used it again. "Please, Issei, wake up. I'm very worried about you." Her words echoed melancholy, concern, and affection for the young man. Aside from the woman with deep purple hair, in the room of the Gregory medical wing there was a man who appeared to be in his 30s with black hair with some golden strands in front. This was Azazel, one of the first fallen angels and the only one with 12 wings, this for having held the rank of seraphim in the first hierarchy of Christianity. He was one of the celestial and most powerful angels. "He'll wake up. You shouldn't worry so much. Yet you seem to think if you leave him alone for a moment, he'll disappear." At first, he spoke to her without much interest, then only said those words jokingly. Still, seeing the look the woman gave him, it was clear to him that his joke hadn't been very welcome. I understand. It's not funny anyway. I have things to attend to. I'll have to leave you." He quickly left. Penamir followed him with her eyes until he left the room. With Azazel already out of the room, Penamir took one of Issei's hands, sat down next to him, and put her head on Issei's chest. Ba-dum ba-dum ba-dum. "It comforts me to hear your heart, Issei, and you sleep so peacefully. I think I'll accompany you on that for a while. I couldn't sleep last night because I was worried." With a yawn, the beautiful woman reinforced her point, and little by little, her breathing calmed down and her eyelids drooped, implying that she had fallen into a deep sleep. Underworld, Astaroth territory. "Are you telling me you don't know what happened to him? This can stay like this. My son was murdered and you don't know how it happened. I want you to look for the evil who did it." In a large, elegantly decorated castle, those were the screams that could be heard throughout almost every hallway. They were produced by the current patriarch of House Astaroth, a law-abiding, upright man. He knew his son was up to no good, but he had no proof. Still, he was his son, and it pained him to see him die. "Latia's still here, but Diodora, who did you mess with? The state of your body, and further examination, shows that your soul was shattered. How much did you suffer in your final moments?" "Lucifer Castle, Dai Mao Lucifer Office." "This will be a big problem. One of the heirs of the noble houses of the underworld was murdered. Who could it have been? Traces of sacred energy were detected at the scene, even so it was of a different origin than angelic, so angels are ruled out. That leaves sacred gear users and the exorcists of the church. Even so, with so many there is no telling which one it could have been, aside from the fact that his soul was destroyed." "Is it certain that he is a sacred gear user or an exorcist?" The question came from a platinum-haired woman wearing a French-made outfit. "There are no other beings with sacred energy other than angels, other than humans with sacred devices or a relationship with the church. It's also worrying that there's a human capable of killing a high-class demon so easily. We must take care of him." Even so, no trace of a human with those characteristics was found in Paris, even after searching all night. "Well, Sir Zeg-sama, what are your orders to convey?" "Demons located on the European continent must proceed with caution, and they must also be careful not to offend the mythologies of those regions. Especially the Celtic ones. We don't want any trouble with Luff-sama and his followers." "I understand. I will inform the Demonic Council." Back at Gregory, Medical Wing. Issei found himself waking up with a headache. It hurt more than usual after using judgment. He moved his blonde hair a little, and with his blue-green orbs he saw where he was. He was on a stretcher in Gregory's medical room. His head still hurt like hell, but when he tried to get up, he felt a weight on his chest. Curious, he decided to see the reason for this, so moving his head a little he could see there a very beautiful woman with purple hair. Issei smiled at her, but that smile faded when he saw traces of tears falling from her. Perhaps she had cried for a long time, so that small trace remained on her beautiful face. His gaze turned serious once he saw this, so he quickly sat down while slowly resting her head on his lap. Afterward, he began to slowly caress her face while wiping away the remaining traces of tears. The purple-haired beauty slowly began to open her eyes. She seemed curious about where she was. "Good morning, Nimue," he spoke with a smile as her red eyes opened quickly. "I see," she screamed before quickly standing up as she brought her hands to her mouth and her red eyes crystallized. Issei smiled as he quickly caught her with some pain in his body, hugging Penemu's waist while she hid her head in her lover's neck. "You worried me a lot, Issei," she said in a low voice while Issei smiled, seeing that she had worried a lot about him, but he also felt bad for making her cry. "Do you know how worried I was about you? Don't do that again, please," she begged Issei, so the blonde-haired man knew very well what she meant. "Don't worry, Nimue. I won't do it again. After all, I don't want to end up like that again." Even with some pain, the young blonde man would strengthen his embrace on his partner and speak in her ear to calm her down. "Do you promise?" Although almost inaudible, the question reached Issei loud and clear, who in response separated a little from the hug and softly kissed his beloved's lips. "I promise, I won't worry you like that again, Nimue," and with a bright smile the boy said these words. Although the moment was interrupted by a crow well known to all. "I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but Issei, the preparations for what we talked about yesterday are ready. You can leave whenever you want, whether it's today or tomorrow." Azazel felt that Issei's energy was somewhat unstable. Even so, seeing him awake, he sighed in relief. "You gave us quite a scare, kid. To think you'd inherit those abilities. On the other hand, as I said before, the preparations are made. Gregory thinks Penemu will go out on a discreet mission, and the same goes for the other factions." "Thanks, Azazel, although I think before that, I think I should do something I've been putting off for a long time," he would say with a serious look while still hugging Penemu, which took a lot of weight off his gaze. "What would that be, Issei?" "I think you don't have any pending matters to attend to here," and Gregory raising her gaze a little to look him in the eyes. Penemu would say this with a look of doubt in her beautiful ruby-colored eyes. "The truth is, here at Gregory I do have a pending matter, but I don't consider that this is the moment to deal with it." As he said this, a fleeting image of a black-haired woman with violet eyes passed through his mind. "So what is this pending matter you speak of?" This time the one who asked was Azazel, although he already had an idea of what that pending matter was. "I'll talk to Max and Izumi. I told them I'd tell them as much as I could about what happened in the last 7 years. At this, Penemu let out a slight grunt of annoyance. He didn't like demons, and even less so these who, despite being family to his beloved, did nothing to help him in his lowest moment. Issei, noticing that Penemu was upset, began to gently caress her head while holding her closer to his body, with the intention of calming her down a little and thus softening her temper. "There's no need to get upset. They're my brothers, no matter what. And I can't say they treated me badly, they just weren't there when they should have been. Besides, they want to redeem themselves. I know it very well, but it still bothers me that they want to treat you as if nothing had happened. They should know that you suffered much more in your childhood when they were no longer there." "Well, it's not like it's their fault either. You have to understand those kids were young, and they probably thought that if Issei spent more time with his parents, their relationship would improve." Faced with these last words spoken by Azazel, Issei would only show a contemplative look, and Penemu for his part only let out a slight snort, turning his face and burying it in Issei's chest so as not to show his annoyed face. "Well, let's not talk about this anymore. I have to get ready to go to Ku. I'll talk to them. And then we'll leave, Nimue," he would say, giving his beloved cadre a brief kiss. "I'll be back in a few hours, Nimue. We'll leave then." At Gregory Issei's main gate, Penemu, Azazel, and Betrayal were attracting the attention of several fallen who were entering and leaving the complex. Kid, will you try talking to my daughter? I know it's probably useless. Still, I want to try to fix things with her. And no matter how unlikely it may be, I'll be able to talk to her. I'll try, Betrayal, but you know I can't promise anything. The cadre would only show a slight smile and nod his head slightly in gratitude for accepting his request. Take care. Don't go looking for trouble, and try to be as brief as possible. Oh, and one more thing. A beautiful smile began to bloom on the face of the only woman in the group. I love you. Issei would go blank for a second before smiling with 1,001 emotions overflowing from his being. Saying I love you wouldn't be enough to express or show what I feel for you, Nimue, although it's not wrong to say it. I love you too. I love you more than my own life. After saying this, Issei would create a magic circle underneath him and disappear from everyone's sight after a brief glow. As always, you two showing off in front of a bachelor, Azazel would say with a somewhat tense smile. Be quiet. Scene change. In the ORC, a called Research Club, a golden glow would appear that would momentarily illuminate the room, from which a young man with golden hair and green eyes very similar to emeralds emerged. They're not here. Then I'll get comfortable and wait for them. They should be in class, after all, today is Wednesday, he would say, letting some of his magical energy filter through and taking a seat in the club president's chair. When he sat down, he would feel quite comfortable in the chair, so without realizing it, his eyes would slowly close. After all, he still felt tired and somewhat sore from the events of the previous day. Did Des wake up? In his dreams, he could hear a strong voice full of authority, but still, he couldn't quite make out what it was saying. Wake up, idiot! At this sudden scream, Issei would open his eyes and by pure instinct he would summon his spear, leaving it a few millimeters from the neck of the person who woke him up, ready to start a battle, or at least that's what he thought before remembering where he had fallen asleep and seeing who was pointing his spear at him. I didn't know you'd be so upset about waking up. Also, could you move that thing away? It's burning me. A female voice reached his ears and helped him out of his confusion as he realized that the person she was pointing at was Rias Gremory, the king of his brothers. I'm sorry, it was a natural reaction of my body. It's not natural to point a weapon capable of killing gods at someone's neck just to wake you up. After putting away his Longinus, Issei would take a quick look around the room, seeing that everyone was present. I must have slept enough for everyone to be here already. Max would give him a complicated look at this. We've been sensing your magic signature for the past 2 hours, so we took advantage of lunch break to come over. At this, Issei would open his eyes slightly. He didn't know how time had passed like that. He could swear he didn't feel like he spent so much time sleeping. He had always been very aware of his sleeping time. Well, could you explain what you're doing at my club? I don't think you just came to say hi, Rias would say, standing next to a blonde girl, if she remembered correctly. Her name was Asia Argento, and she seemed to be treating the minor burns on Rias's neck. You're right, I came to talk to my brothers. This statement caught the attention of everyone present, because for better or worse, everyone is interested in this conversation. I'm going to answer as much as I can, since the other time we had I was too busy to do it, or rather, I didn't want to do it. I won't ask why you didn't want to tell us anything. I'll just get on with the questions. Since you seem to be in a hurry. For the first time since she entered the room, Izumi spoke, causing Issei's gaze to fall on her, showing a slightly surprised expression. How do I know? I'm your younger sister. I've always watched you, and I know a lot about you. Believe it or not, no matter how small the details I remembered about you were, they were what kept me from forgetting your face, even though I hadn't seen you for so many years, even though you'd grown up. At this, Issei just smiled ironically. After all, didn't the same thing happen to him? Well, you're right. I'm in a bit of a hurry. Ask whatever you want, and I'll answer as best I can. And you can ask too. My brothers might miss some details. Well, I'll ask my first question. We partially know how it went, but it's better to hear it from your perspective. How did you end up with Gregory? The first question came from Max. Well, after being abandoned by Mickey and Hyoudou. Chapter 15. After they abandoned me to my fate, I was unconscious for at least 3 hours, and when I woke up I began to cry and curse my weakness. Besides, I swore with all my heart to kill Hyoudou. When suddenly I began to hear a voice asking me if I wanted power, to which I obviously answered yes. After that she told me to call her by her name. I didn't know what she meant. I was overwhelmed by emotions, pain, sadness, anger, and several others. I felt betrayed and hurt. And yet above all those emotions a name came to my head: true Longinus. It repeated itself over and over again. Then when I said it out loud, my most faithful companion appeared, my weapon, and at that moment my only ally. As Issei began to recount the events, most of those present felt a pressure on their hearts. It was very depressing, and even when he said it calmly, everyone could feel the clear sadness and anger behind his words. When my Longinus appeared, all the negative emotions that were bothering me disappeared. I didn't know why, but even my sadness and anger began to calm down. I suppose my emotional state was influenced by my spear. But before I knew it, a magic circle appeared, and Azazel emerged from it. I guess that's when Seraph Gabriel gave him your location. That question came from little Kaneko, who was apparently paying more attention than Issei thought. Yes, that's right. I didn't believe him at first. I even called him a wimp. At this, almost everyone laughed. Imagine a little boy calling a creature that many humans consider one of the greatest demons a wimp. But he shut my mouth, showing his 12 wings then. I got scared and feared for my life. The ideas I had about the fallen angels weren't the best because of what my brothers told me. But Azazel, on the other hand, tried to calm me down first, and then told me to go with him. Reactions were varied. Meeting the leader of a faction, a being who could kill him instantly if he wanted to, would be something not everyone could imagine. He explained what would happen to me if I went with one of the other two factions. With the demons, it was obvious what would happen to me. I would be killed mercilessly. With my Longinus awakened, only supreme-class demons or Satan could reincarnate me, and there aren't many of those given the state of things in the underworld. With the church, they would use me and wear me down until I was no longer useful to them. He also told me that if I went with the fallen I would have more freedom and would be protected, aside from the fact that I would be trained. And all he asked in return was to be able to study my sacred gear. At that moment it was the closest thing to a good deal. However, he let me think about it. I didn't know how to get to the territory of other factions. I wasn't even aware of how to get to supernatural Kyoto. So with no other options, I accepted his deal, going with him to Gregory. At least he didn't force you. I'd be really upset if that happened. Max openly expressed his thoughts about what he'd just been told, even as he earned a reproachful glare from Rias. Was he crazy? How could he possibly challenge a faction leader backed by thousands of other beings? Aside from his own strength, which was nothing to trifle with. Although I recently learned that he wouldn't have given me any other options. After all, one of the weapons capable of destroying the world couldn't fall into the wrong hands. And I couldn't let its wielder be completely consumed by darkness. That's understandable, although I still think you wouldn't necessarily be killed if you went with the demons. Rias, the demons are egomaniacs who, for the simple pleasure of having taken the life of the bearer of one of the weapons that represents the most danger to them, would do anything. At his answer, the crimson-haired girl frowned slightly, but she had to accept that he was right. She knew his race, and what Issei said was very likely. I just want to ask another question. Why didn't you come back when you were strong enough if that's what you wanted? I didn't see it as necessary. It would only create doubts and distrust if he arrived being even much stronger than your king, who is a high-class demon. It is not common to see someone who in less than a decade gains enough power to equal a faction leader. Izumi would be left with a contemplative look at the answer her brother gave her. Even she doubted if it was possible for someone to achieve such a feat. Not even she and Max managed to reach the high class in full form. They could only defeat a high class if they both used their balance breaker, and that was already an achievement, considering that the balance breaker of both were only subspecies and they still had to reach the true 1 inch. How strong are you right now? If I may say so, of course. Sir Gremory asked the question that several of those present had been thinking about, and at this Issei just smiled. I have the confidence to say that I can kill Seraphal Leviathan in less than a minute, and Falbian Asmodeus would die in 5 minutes. As for Serzex Lucifer and Ajuka Beelzebub giving it my all and dying in the attempt, I could mortally wound Serzex, and Ajuka would be the only one I have no confidence in at all. The only ability I know he possesses is his Kankara formula. I don't know what else he has in his arsenal, and I won't face an opponent who I have more than a few things against. At that response, a deathly silence began to rule over the ORC room. It was enough to say that he had the confidence to take down 3 of the 4 current Maos, and only because the last one had kept almost all of his abilities anonymous in the hundreds of years he's been alive. Are you saying that even my brother would die by your hand if you two confront each other? That's right, if I fight Serzex, we'll both die. I'm 100% sure of that. That's a pretty arrogant way of thinking. My brother is ranked number 7 in the world's strongest beings, and in his true form he could fight on equal terms against Thor, number 6. Ha ha ha, Rias, your brother isn't invincible. Especially when he revealed all of his abilities, including his destruction zone. Once again the room fell silent, with Rias wanting to retort, but Issei was right. Even the strongest can fall with the right tools and a good strategist. Oh, I almost forgot. Max, Izumi. Let's have a little fight, use everything you've got. I want to see how strong you've gotten. I'm not sure I'll fight, it's pointless. We'll lose stupidly fast. I agree with Izumi. Why should we fight if everyone here knows the outcome? Don't worry, I won't be using my sacred gear. Nor my armor, much less my mana. I'll fight solely with my physical strength. That caught the attention of the brothers and Rias as well, who thought of something. Forgive me for butting in, but do you mind if the rest of my nobility joins in? Actually, I don't mind. It'll be a good lesson for everyone, including me. He hasn't fought several competent opponents since he defeated the Hyoudou. You fought the Hyoudou. I see ni, are you a fighting addict? Issei smiled at his sister's words and thought about showing off a little. Not only against the Red Dragon Emperor, also against the wielder of Annihilation Maker and the one from Dimension Lost, apart from a girl who had the Blade Blacksmith, and 2 others who each had a twice critical at the same time and win. Now everyone was amazed. He faced 3 Longinus wielders at the same time and one that by himself was astonishing, and that only made them think how strong was he actually? He said he could defeat 3 of the 4 Demon Kings, but it was one thing to say it and another to do it. Well, a lot of talking, no action. Let's go to the playground. You have about half an hour before you have to go back to class, right? After that, everyone moved to the back of the old building, with Rias creating a barrier to avoid attracting the students' attention with the noise the fight would create. Issei, even if you won't use your full strength, don't hold back with your physical strength. I want to see how big the difference is between our strength. I can't do that, Max. They'll die with one hit if I don't hold back. And I don't want to ruin the alliance the leaders worked so hard for by killing the Demon King Lucifer's nobility. At this, everyone present looked at each other with a sour look. Were they that weak? Or was it just arrogance? Well, they'll have to find out in the fight. Come on, don't hold back on anything. Nothing else needed to be said once Kiba had closed the distance between them, though. In his eyes it was as if he was moving at a very slow speed. He didn't even care about Kiba's sword, which was mere inches from his neck and was getting closer and closer. It seemed to bother him that he was making fun of Rias. Or so it seemed, unless dirty looks have different meanings to devils. Crack. His sword broke, and he only held it with 2 fingers to stop it from reaching its target. Was I underestimating him with such a weak sword? Apparently I should show him I wasn't playing around. You are fast, but with very poor strength. Boom. Crack. Or maybe he shouldn't have shown anything at all, not when Kiba was now lying next to his teammates, spitting blood. Apparently he ruptured a lung, if the cracking sound his ribs made and the blood he was coughing up were any indication. Next time, he should put less force into his punches and kicks. Also a very low defense. Vala endured much more than that in our fight. Now that bothered them all, Asia Argento had begun to heal Kiba while the others took combat positions, Max with a Western fencing stance. It reminded him of the stances of the fencers of Spain, As for Izumi, she took a stance of the Japanese martial art Aido. Or at least that's what it seems, since she only took her stance and hasn't yet unsheathed her katana. As for the others, they didn't seem to make many changes. Kaneko only put on gloves, and Akeno for her part only took out her wings and rose from the ground. Apparently she would take the role of aerial support. Nothing that surprises me. The only one who seems to have made an effort to learn something complicated from you is Izumi. Is it hard for you to learn a martial art? Is it very complicated to learn beyond the basics of swordsmanship? And also, I don't understand why you should limit your potential. It's all nonsense. Each one had a different reaction. Kaneko and Akeno tensed up. Max showed an annoyed look, and Izumi, she felt a small sense of pride. Almost no one recognized the martial art she studied, and even today she tried to improve more and more. Are you just going to stand there? We don't have all the time in the world. Don't act so arrogant, Issei-kun, it could cost you dearly. The only one who responded was Akeno, who didn't have the usual amused smile on her lips. When Issei turned around to see, he only found two orbs staring at him coldly. Apparently it is still a very complicated subject for her. That was his only thought before he had to move to avoid being struck by lightning. It's annoying to fight an annoying person. He'll have to take her out first. He began to run at a moderate speed towards her, not very fast. Even so, they perceive it as a speed equal to Kiba's. And seeing his intentions, Kaneko stood in his way and threw a punch with all her strength. From her way of hitting, she knows boxing. A pity martial arts with blunt or lethal blows would suit her better. Such as Muay Thai or Kyokushin Karate. With such explosive force it would be easy to knock out opponents of your own level, or a little stronger. Even so, he didn't get distracted and launched his own punch. The only difference is that this one wasn't meant to stop Kaneko's blow. He doesn't mind taking the girl's blow, but if she takes his, he'll be knocked out. Don't forget about us. Ah, his brothers. I'd forgotten about them, now that's a nuisance. A sword reached the arm that was about to hit Kaneko. It made a somewhat deep cut. The other, from what he perceives, will hit him in the back. It doesn't suit him, he doesn't want to destroy the suit he's wearing. So, adjusting his posture quickly, he gave a strong stomp which destroyed the ground in a radius of 20 meters, sending his rivals flying due to the stones released from the ground and the shock wave of the blow. Apparently the only one who wasn't greatly affected was Rias, since even Akeno was hit by several stones that hit her hard. He's somewhat disappointed, they've been training for several years longer than he has. So how come they're so weak? Did they stop training? Are they satisfied with this mediocre level? Revealing your location to your opponent in combat is stupid. Aiming for non-lethal locations will only lead to your death. They had me in check, but they wasted their opportunity. Kaneko Tuju is strong, probably strong enough to make a high-class person go through hell if she takes more than 5 hits, but she's very slow. That's something to improve. Her combat senses need to improve too. You have to know when to dodge, Izumi. Your paralyzing poison should be more potent. Did you lower the power? I barely feel like it slowed me down. Keep in mind that the greater a person's strength, the greater the strength and resistance of their body. Max, as I said, you shouldn't reveal your location to your enemy if you have the opportunity to sneak attack. As for Akeno Himejima, a complete disaster, you let yourself be unbalanced and didn't take the leadership, making one of the members have to protect you. As for Kibayudo, I can say he was the worst. In an altered emotional state, he went and attacked alone an opponent who could easily have killed him, knocking him out and putting more strain on his teammates if this were a real fight. Each and every one of you would be dead by now. Issei would just start walking towards where his brothers were watching with couldn't get up and were injured. Although Izumi looked worse, she was even bleeding from the head, making part of her face turn red. That made him feel a little bad. Again he got carried away and put more force than he should have in his blow. Izumi, Max, are you okay? I'm a jewel. I'm dying. Now he regretted not hitting harder, he worries and they make fun of him. Well, what can he do if that's how he is? There's a reason they're brothers, so with a smile he helped Max up and took Izumi in his arms. Don't let your preference be noticeable, Issei. You only help your older brother get up and you even carry your little sister in your arms. Don't tell me my older brother is jealous of a 16-year-old girl. At this, Izumi just smiled nervously while being in Issei's arms, because now Issei and Max only saw each other. One smiling and the other with a look that showed that he wished him all the evil in the world. You could have held back a little more, just look at Izumi. She's bleeding from the mouth. As for Akeno and Kaneko, one was already with Asia, having her heal her wounds while Kaneko was there. And Akeno was looking at Issei in a bad way while he used magic to clean and repair his uniform, since several stones had managed to tear it. Now, with everyone back in the club, Issei was saying goodbye to his brothers, who were hugging him with such fervor that it seemed they wouldn't let him go. Guys, Issei has to go, let him go. We know, Rias, but we just want to do this a little longer. We haven't been able to give you a proper hug in years. This act and the words Max spoke made Rias give up. They were right, at least. I could let them do this. Don't worry, when I get back we'll spend more time together. After all, I want you to get to know your sister-in-law properly, and we have to make up for lost time. Making a magic circle appear beneath him, Issei said those words, releasing his brothers. Just one more thing, do you really not want to heal that wound I gave you? Izumi, I don't want to remove the wound you gave me because I want it to heal naturally. After all, I can proudly carry this scar as a memory of the first fight I had with my brothers. You're strange, Issei ni. Not everyone wants to have scars on their body. I'm not like others, by guys, I'll miss you. And by Rias. Before they could return the farewell, the magic circle shone and in less than a second Issei disappeared. Now when will we see him again? Well, all that remains is to train next time. I don't want to lose in one hit. Izumi would say this while clenching her small hands, her eyes seeming to burst into flames with excitement and motivation. You won't be the only one. Next time I won't lose. The fight ended before my balance breaker countdown was up, so I didn't put up much of a fight, Izumi. Yeah? Why didn't you use your balance breaker during the fight? Because even if I used the physical enhancements it gives me, I felt like the result would be the same, too. I didn't want to go to class exhausted from using it, plus now I want to have an equal fight with Issei without resorting to balance breaker. Sigh. You're as stubborn as ever. All three of us are Nissan. Are you ready to go, Nimue? Yes, let's go, Issei. Disappearing in a magic circle, they would both appear at the business they had arrived at on the day of their appointment. It seems you finally decided to make a young team, Issei. That's right, Mr. Vlad, and as I told you before, I want you to join. Before that, let's see how much you've improved, young Issei. Standing up from the chair from which the man with longish blonde hair had been speaking. Blue eyes that seemed to flash gold for a moment, wearing a garment somewhere between black, blue, and gold, and also a bearing that made him look like royalty. Okay, Mr. Vlad, to tell you the truth, I want a rematch. I would say this approaching the man while he is towards a teleportation magic circle, so when Issei was at his side and likewise penetrated this, he teleported them to a forest where it was already nighttime, even so there was a rather gloomy atmosphere, and the fact that stakes began to emerge from the ground did not lighten the atmosphere. They won't bother you here, you don't have to worry about that. Now, shall we begin? Chapter 16. If Issei had to describe Vlad's presence with one word, it would be terrifying. Never in his short life had he felt such a potent bloodlust. Even now that he was only standing a few meters in front of him, he felt that if he got too close he would be killed without problems. Perhaps it was the fact that several of his rivals hadn't displayed their bloodlust. Or perhaps it was simply that Issei never gave them enough attention because their presence was very weak. Still, he couldn't do anything but be alert to any contingency in Vlad's presence. What's up, young Issei? I thought you'd do the same thing as before. Rushing headlong without analyzing your opponent. I won't make the same mistake, Mr. Vlad. I'm going all out this time. Vlad just smiled gracefully as he watched Issei take an attack stance with the spear. Nimue, would you please stand up? I won't fight calmly knowing you could get hurt. Yes, I'll be watching. Penimir had a few beads of cold sweat on his forehead and a rather serious expression. This guy's presence screamed death, and to accomplish such a thing you need to end hundreds if not thousands of lives. Where did Issei get this monster from? He didn't know, but one thing was for sure. This guy is far beyond supreme class. He's probably even on par with a Mao class faction leader or even higher, all in all. The world was still full of monsters that they didn't know about. Well, since you're not going to attack, I'll do it. This time I won't hold back, young Issei. A blink, that was all it took for Vlad to appear in front of Issei and be about to impale him with his spear. If it hadn't been for Issei moving away as fast as his body allowed, he probably would have already lost. You have good reflexes. Most people lose when I do that attack at such speed. UHG, if I get distracted even a little bit, I'll lose, there's no doubt. There's no other choice. True Longinus, balance breaker, true Longinus Gutterdamarum. In silence, without flashes or explosions, 7 orbs formed behind Issei's back. His 7 treasures, abilities created by himself based on his Longinus. Even though he feels that they are no longer necessary, and that if he puts them aside he can improve even more, but even so, he still doesn't know what to do after discarding them, and while he doesn't know, he prefers to have the backup of his treasures. Interesting, it seems that's your true balance breaker. It's a little hard to recognize since there aren't that many differences between this one and the previous one. But the fact that those pesky orbs are no longer black but prismatic gives them away. It seems nothing escapes you, Mr. Vlad, you're right? This is my true balance breaker, it's my true Longinus Gutterdamarum, Kahabadi Ratana. With one of the 7 orbs breaking the formation and expanding to then separate into 9 parts, and that these take a humanoid form which began to have features that differentiated them from each other. In addition to that, each one carried a different weapon, being these the same. A halberd, a spear, a sword, a mace, a bow, a 2-handed saber, a warhammer, a scythe, and even one that had fists with spikes. Apparently now it was not mandatory for their warriors to only carry the spear as a weapon. And by the position that each one took, they were skilled in the use of those weapons. That's an interesting trick. You didn't use that last time. However, it won't do you any good. At a fairly high speed, Issei and his sentries went from several directions towards Vlad, from the front, the sides, his back, and even from above. It seems you won't be talking in this battle, if that's the case. Then I'll stop talking too. Even when he was completely surrounded, Vlad didn't even blink, and with extremely fast movements he began to deflect the blows, cuts, and stabs of the sentries. Although seeing that they continued, he decided to make them disappear, and before Issei realized it, 4 of the sentries were impaled by countless spears and likewise were decapitated in the blink of an eye. Damn, even when I discovered a way to make them able to do techniques and have their own types of combat, they can't do anything. Deciding to attack with a kick to Vlad's leg and then a powerful blow from the sentry with the spiked fists, Vlad had faltered for a millisecond. That was all it took, and even when he saw that Vlad tore the sentry to pieces in a second, he didn't stop and launched a torrent of sacred energy from the tip of his spear. If he wanted to launch his Balanayaka Ratana in combat, he had to fulfill a condition, but with this opponent it was something he didn't want to experience. What's wrong, Lord Vlad? You're just defending yourself. You're not even actively attacking. Are you afraid of my spear? Issei let out a small sneer at his opponent. However, he didn't expect him to show a cold look and then have to use his Chatsuka Ratana to destroy all the shadow spears that were close to impaling him. Young Issei, I'm a firm believer in never underestimating an opponent, especially with mockery. And I'm sure your ancestor would completely agree with me. So I'll beat that haughty attitude out of you. And so, without further warning or other sign, Vlad took one step, then another. And from one moment to the next he disappeared from Issei's sight, causing him to become alarmed and start looking everywhere. He even extended his senses, but even then he couldn't see Vlad's location. Up you Issei, be careful. Penemu's urgent voice reached him with its strong message, and without hesitation he moved from the place, narrowly dodging Vlad's spear, which upon impact with the ground made a fairly wide clean cut, followed by the complete fragmentation of the area, making that even when Issei escaped the cut, the shock wave alone was enough to send him flying, causing him to go through several trees before stabilizing and using his Atsusa Ratana to teleport towards Vlad again, launching a diagonal cut with the blade of his spear shining in a strong white tone. However, It was not enough, and Vlad stopped him with his own spear. No matter what he did, Vlad's mastery was far superior. Apparently, the experience gap is not something that can be jumped so easily. Still, he could not give up. Chatsuka Ratana. Vlad just smiled haughtily at Issei's bewildered expression. Even more so when he noticed that he was starting to get short of breath. With heavy breathing, Issei put on a solemn look as he noticed that he was unable to destroy his opponent's weapon. Interesting. It seems that another of the abilities of that Longinus is that it can destroy weapons. However, it seems that I should clarify something. My spear is made of divine steel, and in case you forget, divine steel is the same material that sacred gears are made of, so just like you. Weapons forged with that material are almost indestructible. Or tell me, have you ever seen a sacred gear break? Although, it doesn't matter. If you don't mind. Now, before Issei's completely pale face, Vlad with a movement of his spear raised a large amount of dust, and taking advantage of the distraction, he moved it away with a kick to the trunk, making him grunt in pain. Can we continue? Even though he wanted to give up, knowing that this battle couldn't be won by normal means, Issei knew that Vlad wouldn't let it go just like that. Forward. Ha ha ha, that's the spirit now. Resist as best you can and please don't die. With a gaze colder than steel, magical power burst out in Vlad with his next words. Kazikli Bay, the fortress of impalement. What the hell? The blood in his veins ran cold, his heart went crazy with its beats. The feeling of death was more present than ever for Issei, with the sky taking on a blood-red color. Thousands and thousands of stakes came out of the ground, devastating everything within a range of 200 meters. And in the middle of all that disaster was an Issei who had barely managed to deflect the stakes that were aimed at his head and torso, although that didn't save one of his arms and both of his legs from being impaled on the stakes. Damn, this shit hurts UHG. With a movement of his spear he destroyed the stakes that held him in place, and then lowered himself as best he could, holding his arm, noticing how all the stakes around him dissolved into black particles, giving way to Vlad, who approached with light steps among all the chaos. It's admirable that you're only wounded in your limbs. I remember that even that bastard who called himself Shalba ran away with his wings and stomach pierced when I refused to join his group. Issei opened his eyes in great surprise upon hearing those words. Did those guys? Don't get distracted. Before he could get back up, Issei was sent flying through several hundred spears along the way, causing even more wounds to be added to the ones he already had and a few spears to pierce through his defenses until he crashed heavily into the edge of a nearby cliff. Cough. What the hell is going on with this physical strength? Having barely left the crater where Issei was, he spat out blood and saw the path he had traveled by that kick granted by Vlad's hand. I'm quite old, young Issei, but even if I'm already old, I never neglected my training. And believe me when I tell you that if I were still human, the title of the strongest human wouldn't be held by Vasco Estrada. It's not for nothing that I've been increasing my strength since 1456. You're a bucking monster, have they told you that? Releasing a quick exhalation, Issei resumed his combat stance. Even though he was bleeding from his limbs and back along with a somewhat deep cut on his forehead, his balance breaker was doing its job and was healing him at a steady pace. But I must say he made a mistake. Joe? Would you enlighten me, young Issei? I'm not one to explain my abilities, but I think it's appropriate to explain it to honor one of the few people who pushed me to such a state and limit. Go ahead. Explain your technique, I won't interrupt you. My spear has 7 skills created to my convenience and imagination. When I had created 6, I had covered most of the points I thought of, but something was missing, the firepower. So I decided to make one last skill, but I found myself with the surprise that when I use it in combat I have to meet a condition, receive enough damage or stop enough damage. And with that attack that you used, it was more than enough. As the words left Issei's mouth, his eyes gradually opened until the end, where he noticed Issei's magical energy burst into gold, and one of the orbs from his back positioned itself on the tip of his spear. You won't. Kazikli Bay, the fortress of impalement. In less than a second, Issei's vision was filled again with spears and stakes pointing in his direction, but even with that he did not lose his calm and only said 2 words. Balanayaka Ratana? The clash was not long in coming. A beam of light condensed with enough sacred energy to wipe out an army of high-class demons collided with thousands and thousands of spears, entering a stalemate that only lasted a few seconds before the beam of light won and continued on its way and destroyed every spear that crossed its path. TCH, and to think he had such a ridiculous attack in his arsenal. Vlad, in preparation for the attack, planted his spear on the ground and was surrounded by a dense layer of magical energy of a purple and red hue while his eyes shone in a strong gold. Don't think I'm like those disappointments who call themselves vampires and are physically weak. When the beam of light reached Vlad, he stood firm and stopped it with his spear. Aerg. Feeling the sacred energy burning his hands, Vlad let out a cry of pain, but his stance didn't waver or lose strength. This thing. As expected of the strongest Longinus, it's just ridiculous. From a distance, Penemu saw everything with a look that oscillated between seriousness and concern. She knew that Issei was strong. But according to what he himself told her, he wasn't that injured in his battle against the Issei Hyoudou An and the other two Longinus. Issei, what are you going to do? TCH, Mr. Vlad really is a tough guy. Look at him taking that attack head on. No, it doesn't matter. When he said those words, Issei increased the flow of energy production of his weapon, increasing the size of his beam of light, beginning to push Vlad back, and he will begin to struggle more to hold on. Ha ha ha, this is fun. How long has it been since I got pushed around like this because I was overconfident? Fine, if I have to stop playing, so be it, pierce and impale. A thick fog had begun to fill the forest, with only the area of the clash of powers visible. However, the atmosphere began to fill with a gloomy air, and the feeling of death grew stronger and stronger, making the hairs on Issei's neck stand up as he felt the danger. Dodge! Trusting his instinct, Issei cut the flow of energy from his attack, creating an explosion that completely trapped Vlad. Issei dodged to the side just in time when, in less than 1 second later, the area where he was standing was impaled by 5 spears that came out of the fog. That was dangerous. What the hell is this fog? It gives me a dangerous feeling, and it appeared out of nowhere. A domain? No, isn't he a god? That's ridiculous. It looks like some kind of barrier. Could it be? Yes. I see, a barrier that helps with his spells and chances of winning. It reminds me of the Lost Dimension. From where the attack had exploded, light applause began to be heard as the dust from the attack dispersed, and the mist gave way to a somewhat bruised Vlad, but healing at a terrifyingly rapid rate. Even the burned skin on his hands was regenerating in full view. Amazing, you're going to force me to use this technique. Not even that cheap copy of Beelzebub forced me to do so. Besides discovering the essence of my barrier, you are definitely the descendant of that king. As he finished saying these words, the fog covered Vlad again, causing Issei to lose sight of him. And even though he had good aptitudes to be a censor, he couldn't feel even a hint of Vlad's presence. It was as if he had disappeared. No. It must have been something else. Don't get lost in your thoughts. Dodging narrowly and earning a slight cut on his cheek, Issei sent his spear towards where the voice and attack came from, but it was in vain since there was nothing there anymore. Are you going to hide now? Starting to get annoyed, Issei made a derogatory comment towards Vlad. Hide? But I'm here. A whisper came from Issei's back, and a stabbing pain in his shoulder made him turn around, throwing a punch at the mist again, but again. There was nothing. Shit. Removing the stake that was through his shoulder. Not only do they hurt me like nothing, but they dodged the most powerful attack of my Longinus like nothing. I got tired of playing Tyrant's armor. With a scream of fury, Issei's mana burst outwards and his dark armor began to surround him at the same time as his mana turned from blue to dark purple. I'm not going to hold back any longer. Were you holding back? Curious. I don't think I deserve it. Appearing out of the mist, Vlad. Looking completely serene, he grasped his spear, looking very ready to continue. I'll lower my energy consumption. I'll stop using the real balance breaker. This battle must end now. I can't go on like this. My healing factor can barely keep up with the rate at which I'm being injured. In the blink of an eye, Vlad, who in a moment moved and got close enough to Issei to launch a thrust with his weapon. Issei in a swift movement dodged and counterattacked with a quick diagonal slash that grazed Vlad's face. Okay, you need to focus. In a real fight, I'd have killed you 6 times over, even if you outclassed me in several ways. Continuing with Sump's monologue, Vlad relentlessly attacked Issei even when he blinked. Vlad took advantage of that to launch more attacks. I think I'm almost used to Lord Vlad's level, but I still see victory as very distant if I don't land a decisive blow with my Longinus. Bad Ratana. At one point, Issei deflected a shadow spear to Vlad's back which, as he didn't have much time to react, ended up receiving it in the left shoulder, thus losing his balance, allowing Issei to cut his right arm from the elbow. Aerg, damn it. That damn gun. Taking advantage of the moment of carelessness due to pain, Issei tried to stab Vlad's torso, but Vlad recovered quickly and kicked him in the chest, sending him crashing into a nearby hill. Well played, young Issei. I didn't expect you to use that skill at that moment. Still, you should have used that same skill to go for my blind spot. Don't throw the stab head on. Amidst the dust, Issei stood up and walked out of the mess that had once been a hill. He wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth and smiled a little when he saw that his severed arm was taking a while to regenerate. You're right, but I'm still going to win this. No, young Issei, this has been enough. I could have ended this battle from the start. However, I wanted to see how much you've grown. And I'm truly satisfied with your power. But disappointed with your fighting personality. With that, Vlad disappeared into the mist. In less than a second, Issei felt himself hit by a tremendous force on his back. He was thrown forward without being able to do much. And before he could get back up, he was kicked towards the sky. Which gave him the sight of Vlad, with the red moon at his back and the tips of his trench coat still in a state of mist. You lost. If you weren't so confident, it probably would have been different. And with these words, Issei was struck with the flat side of the spear on the head, causing him to crash heavily against the ground and lose consciousness, but not before having a fleeting thought. If only I hadn't held anything back.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.